As Roy would have indicated, Prime Minister is just running a few minutes late, so we're going to get started. This is the last in the series of Parish Speaks for this year. And next year, I believe we're going to start what is referred to as the Ideas Forum. And of course, that's going to be the year where we're going to be doing gathering as well. So we're really looking forward to that. Just to say at the outset, this forum is intended for you to be able to express your views in relation to things either happening or not happening across your communities, and for each of us, whether in respective ministries as well as MPs, to really be able to listen to you and also to share with you where a number of the projects are at and to answer a number of those questions that you may have. So if we can get the ball rolling, first person up, if you can take the mic. Thank you.
Good evening, panel. My name is Harriet Roach. I reside in Londonbourne Towers. I was there from the inception. For the past 9 years, I had a leak in my back. I have a leak in my back bedroom. Up to this evening, before I came here, the water was running down. But that is not even my main issue. From September, in my bathroom, the water was just pouring down. I called housing, they came, they dug up some tiles, and up to this day, I have not had a bath in my bathroom. I have to be bathing in a bucket.
Okay, ma'am, I don't think I need you to go any further.
I know.
Is anybody from housing here that, or at the back? I see Mr. Clark, who has been troubleshooting for me, certainly in St. Michael's Southeast with the unit. So, Mr. Clark, I would ask you to perhaps just have a quick word with Ms. Roach. It is unfortunate that it has taken this long, and I'm sure Mr. Clark will be able to get to the bottom of what is the problem in relation to the plumbing.
I would like to say something else, please. Okay, so Friday, I called them, and they said someone was on the way. I waited the whole day, and no one turned up. Today, I called and I say I'm going to take this to another level. So someone did come today, and they said they were working on the top unit because the water is leaking from the top. In the meantime, I am still without a shower.
So I think, Mr. Clark, you've heard the concern. Certainly in these situations, it's important that we get back to people, but also if we have to find, and I know Minister Humphrey will say to me, there's no alternative accommodation readily available, but surely we cannot have a female in particular without water. We can't have anybody without water, but in particular, I think that NHC needs to look into this a bit deeper, all right?
And in the meantime, the tiles are coming up because of all the moisture. The tiles are coming up in the kitchen and in the living room, and I have to look to replace them. Where I am bathing now, the water, because the water is in that area, the paint is just bubbling up. So it's just...
I'm going to ask Mr. Clark to just come to the mic a second, because I think this issue of maintenance of the units across the country, and particularly in the St. Michael areas, is a recurring one. Certainly in my Pinelands housing estate, it is he's constantly on speed dial, but if he could just perhaps share with you what is actually happening at NHC and the efforts that they're making, and then he can deal with your specific issue.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister. I'm aware of the problem that was just highlighted, and only today we started to look at rectifying it. The problem is it is not at her unit, it's a unit above her, and we had some challenges getting into that particular unit. We've now made contact with the person who is occupying that unit, and we're beginning to address the problem. It's a pretty difficult area to have retrofitted to get to it, but we are currently working on it. So I believe within the next day or two, we should have that rectified.
Yeah, but in fairness to Ms. Roach, I don't think she can stay in that condition for much longer. So I would like you to just have a word with her and see how you can perhaps find a way to mitigate at this point. Is that the only unit that is affected in the building?
I don't know.
No, there are another 2 that are being affected, but not as severe as hers.
Okay.
But I'll have a word with her. I'm conscious
All
of the fact that she's inconvenienced. I'll have a word with her now and see how best we can
Okay.
alleviate her problem.
Thank you. You have another question, ma'am?
That's basically. But as far as what he was saying, the gentleman upstairs, he's been leaving his keys because he's is annoyed that I can't get a bath. And, oh, sorry. He had been leaving his keys for a couple days, and they said they will show up, and they never show up.
They're going to show up after tonight.
I hope so.
Thank you, ma'am. Next person, please.
Good night. Kathy Harris, Westbury. Okay, so I have a lot of issues, but I will narrow them down to the youth. Children and the youth. Everybody know that St. Michael is a very big area with a lot of children. And I would like, this is what I would like to see. I would like to see more counselors in the primary schools with a strong emphasis on building self-esteem and conflict resolution so that we can get to these little children and getting the haze before they get to secondary school, where they then creates a problem. So I hope people hearing me. We need to get good counselors in the primary schools. Because if I say mine, and mine half bad, and yours worse, all the children together all day long, something gonna rub off the wrong way or the right way. So we need to get some strong counselors in these primary schools. What I would like to see, I don't know what is the relationship between government and places like Paradise. But Paradise have excellent parenting classes happening all the time. And I would like to see some support and endorsement for programs like that. Especially, I can't even say it, to be honest, for young parents, because a lot of older people just as ridiculous. And some maybe grandmothers off the chain. So parenting classes, community engagement. I remember years ago, Madam Prime Minister had facilitated the Boys on the Block project. And I was involved with that because my friend Umbale Imolja was the facilitator. And every one of those young persons that I meet, even though they didn't stay into digital media, they were gainfully employed, they were not in prison, because that program was about teaching life lessons. It was about teaching self-esteem building, because obviously we didn't get them from primary school, so we had to get them at that stage. So these are the things that I would like to see happening, please. Community engagement, get to the community groups and support the community groups. Try to build more community centers. Because if you have a community center, the children can be engaged for the evening, but the elderly persons can use it during the day. Persons not working can learn skills. So that's my piece. Thank you.
I now hand over to the Honorable Prime Minister.
I thought you were going to engage. Good night, everyone. As usual, you know, when you have public life, your life is public. So I had dental surgery again today, and I'm going to go back for the last piece, I hope, on the 2nd of December. So if I am not as talkative or I'm a little off tonight, you will appreciate and understand why. So Santa, you'll help me carry tonight. Thank you. Ms. Roach, Ms. Harris, sorry, where are you? Kathy. The truth is that I want to thank you for reinforcing the message. We have met with Paradise quite a few times. We are integrating them, and I will ask both Kirk and Corey to speak, into the parental education and the life coaches and parental coaches program, because the truth is
that we need a Barbados again, where people are forming community clubs, forming sporting clubs, forming cultural clubs, but that's not going to come from top down. That comes from where, as you just said, the community. And at the end of the day, whether it is dedicated to the community or as Alombe did with Yoruba and others have done, we need both community and national engagement. The government is prepared to support it. On community enfranchisement, we're going to do something in Sergeant's Village. I've spoken to Mr. Junior Alsop already, who is from that area. Ironically, I grew up for 2 years in Sergeant's Village too by my grandparents, which William knows well. And I have vowed that, not as Prime Minister, but as Mayor Motley, to work with Mr. Alsop, to go back, and people know me in St. Michael, they don't know me in Christchurch. You understand? To go back into Sergeant's Village, and we are going to, as government, give them the capital sum to help fix up the centers, as we will do with others, but have an arrangement where we engage the community through a community club to take day-to-day management. Because at the end of the day, as you said, is at 7 and 8 o'clock that you need community centers open, not at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock necessarily in the day alone. That's good during the day for those who are home. But there are a lot of people who also need access to communities in the evening. And this is a 30-year problem that we're trying to break, because we've done it in some, then the reverse. We do it in others, then the reverse. Same thing with the schools. You can't have a school that's only open, let's do the maths. 5 days a week, 38 weeks or 39 weeks a year. So I have 2 days times 39, plus then 13 hours, 13 weeks, sorry, for the rest of the week that the school ain't open, plus then, as Wilfred is reminding, and I will give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say from 7 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon is exclusively the school. But from 5 in the evening till 10 at night can be adult classes, training, community groups, PTAs, all kinds of things. But what we need, look, the world is changing on us. You saw yesterday President Biden gave permission to shoot missiles into Russia, right? You saw 2 weeks before the Russians taking Koreans in there, correct? If we are not careful, we are going to be in a world that is very, very different. And I have spent the last 2-3 years in particular, maybe even 4 or 5 since COVID, trying to tell Bajans we need to become resilient. We need to become resilient. And whether it is in what we grow in the backyard, they laugh at Owen Arthur when he tell them plant sweet potatoes, remember? You remember that? In 2008. And it's the same message I've been giving you over and over and over. Children learn to do what when they go carry out sheep? They learn responsibility, because the sheep got to eat every day. You understand? They learn that that's their task in the household. And I'm saying to us, I'm almost pleading with us as a people, we can do better, and we must do better. And there are those in the community that need to step up. The Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Environment know that I am beyond anxious for the community landscaping projects to start. We have what, 68 primary schools? How many primary schools? 68 primary schools and what, 21 secondary? That's 89 schools across the country that need people to come and say, not everybody got a green thumb, but the few that got a green thumb, and particularly those who are older. What keeps you active and not getting into dementia a lot of the time? You understand? Engagement, active engagement, intergenerational engagement. So there's something in it, Kathy, for everybody, not true? And that's what we want. And Barbados don't go follow the rest. Follow pattern is doer. Follow pattern is doer. No, I only hear old people telling me that. Follow pattern is doer. Youngsters is do what? What it does, you know? You see what I'm telling you? Why you think I use these old-time Bajan sayings all the time? Even when I I went to the Vatican last week and I talked about one blows kill all cow. Because that is who we are. I am frightened or ashamed to be Bajan. That is how we get raised. That's how we make sure that people understand the message, because they get it immediately. One blows kill even an old cow. Follow pattern. Follow pattern. And how many people in here didn't know that saying? Youngster in the back with the locks. You knew that saying? Huh? You're laughing. You did, but not the youngster in front. Go ahead.
My apologies to Mr. Gibbs, because I did not mention that Mr. Gibbs have some excellent programs planned for St. Michael West. I'll be looking forward to that. So I'm saying it.
Plan or
so
executed?
Well, we gonna execute them.
It better be executed.
We are gonna execute them. We're gonna revive the reading program, and he have some sporting programs and sort of engage the youth. So I put it out there so you can't go back on it.
Kurt and Corey.
All right, I'll go first. Good night, everyone. Kathy, I want to not only thank you, I want to salute you for your contribution, because that is just what the doctor ordered, and that we are here to fill the prescription. In terms of conflict resolution, I think that we may have an issue with messaging more so than actually implementing, because we have a number of conflict resolution sessions going on, a number of mediators being trained at BCC to ensure that mediation can go on. So you'll be happy to hear that. In relation to counselors in the school, you'll be happy to know that it is under this administration, with the support of the Sandy Lane Charitable Trust, we were able to put 8 social workers additional in the schools at the early level, so that we can get the early warning signs and early interventions. What I think we need is a couple more psychologists to back up those social workers, for sure. In terms of parenting, you'd be happy to know that we are doing a fairly sizable parenting program across Barbados right now. At last count, we were just under 1,000 parents that usually would not attract, using the same paradox. We are also using 4 other organizations: the Barbados Association of Professional Social Workers, MENS, which is Men Empowerment Network Support, Tony Olton and his Potter's House, and Amar Empowerment. And they are going right across the board. They're using podcasts, they're using schools, they're using everything. But as you rightfully said, Parados is taking the lead on that. To buttress that, and again, let Kurt speak more about that, we're actually going to start the life coaching program, where we look at surrounding families that really need the assistance with life coaches and parental coaches. And then answering your things specifically when it comes to community engagement. Within the crime prevention pillar, we have a number of programs, and one of them is community engagement, like you spoke about. And I want to tell you what we have done, not what we plan to do. We have a number of pop-ups, and the pop-ups really answer the question that the community center is doing. We keep complaining about community centers close up, they need a lot of work and so on. And what the National Peace Program have actually been doing is popping up, doing some programs. We had one just Saturday at Kensington, we had one at Wharton, and a lot of young people come out and get involved and show their skills and actually be rewarded for doing something positive. Again, I'll close here by telling you the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, along with the Office of the Attorney General Crime Prevention, has been doing a lot, and we plan to do a lot more. And with people like you and the support and your lobbying and calling for it is going to make it happen. Now, what we need is action. What we need is implementation. What we need is to continue to press on, and we will see the mountain top, Kathy. So I thank you very much. Action.
Right. So thanks for the question, Kathy. We know that you have a lot of experience in this area anyways. But the truth is, if you look at the decline in communities that need help the most economically disenfranchised communities, then you would have seen over time there's been a gradual decline. We were just having a conversation, a gradual decline in community groups. I mean, when I was a young boy growing up in the Pine, there were many. It was Pinelands, but they had so many. The challenge that we're having now is that doesn't naturally emerge anymore. And the government had taken a position that we had to put effort into building these community groups, finding persons who wanted to make a difference, because it begins with a cause. And we have to have people start associating themselves with a cause, something they want to change. And so we had made a decision to start building or helping people build community groups. So if anybody's in the sound of my voice or watching, and they're interested in transforming or remedying a situation, we want to work with you to build it up. But it's not happening naturally. And therefore, we have to find a way to build back a lot of these community groups and maybe change the way the government interacts with a number of these groups too. Because a lot of the community centers, when they are open, they're not being utilized the way they used to be utilized. And we got to find a way to just have people more involved in these things. That was the one. I think in relation to that too, the truth is that if we don't do something, nature abhors a vacuum. We were just joking that if you don't do something, the group that is going to be formed is not going to be a positive group. Young people start forming in their own groups and doing things that are not necessarily helpful. So in the ministry, we have been having conversations with Paradox. The challenge with Paradox, and Paradox has done an excellent job. And we determined that we have to put more resources this financial year behind Paradox, because the majority of work at Paradox is done by a very small staff and a lot of volunteers. And of course, we want to encourage volunteerism, and when people see things happening, they want to volunteer even more. We want to expand the reach of Paradox. And so we determined this year again that we will put more resources behind Paradox and to work with Paradox on a number of the programs that we are doing. And then as Corey was speaking to the life coaches and parental coaches program, one of the things we did this year during the course of we expanded this year was the 1,000 family, which we call the One Family, where we took the 1,000 most vulnerable families. And there was a program with 7 pillars to go through education, health, counseling. It's a very integrated program, so that at the end of the program, a family then has the exposure, hopefully, and the change, the transition. We're seeing that transition now. And what we found is that there are a number of areas that you could pick out. I mean, if Corey were to plot them, you would see where there's a relationship between crime in some cases or other deviants and the impact on family. It works both ways, right? The family decay impacting the social challenges impacting the family decay. And so we've identified those groups. And now we're going to be hiring the family, the life coaches and the parental coaches to go in and to make that relationship between what is happening in the family and what is happening in the community is a healthy one. So really working on changing that behavior. And this is not something that is not happening. This is a never plan. This is happening now. Actually, we're hoping that within the next 2-3 weeks, we actually have the life coaches on board, the parental coaches on board. So we take the point, and I think it is something that I can honestly say we are working on. I am very concerned, like you are concerned, about what is happening with our communities. And I think what's happened as well is that social media has made it very easy for people to go and complain about something. They run to social media, they talk about it, but then are we doing something about it? And I think we have to find a lot of those people as well who are active on social media and empower them too. I mean, if they're interested in making a change, to give them the resources to make that change. And that is how we are now approaching the situation you raised. But thank you for raising it.
I also do want to say, Kurt, and this afternoon I was speaking with the Commonwealth Secretary General, who, as you know, was the first black woman to be Attorney General in England. And she would have gone through a lot of these challenges. And much of what you just described there with the program and integrating and putting special interventions for families that are vulnerable and special interventions for family whose parents are in prison. And therefore you know already upfront that they're missing that parental support. And we have to find a way. Trevor Prescott, come up here. I've got enough room, please. And this is a conversation that you would normally be very engaged in. But we have to find ways. Barbados is small enough for each one to reach one. And that is and must be the theme. Each one reach one. And I keep saying, if 4 out of 5 people are above the poverty line and 1 out of 5 is below, then it means that the 4, along with the government, can more than fight the battle to help the 1 who is below the poverty line. Now, if we can't do that, we have nobody else to blame but ourselves. And the Bible, most Barbadians are Christians. The Bible tells us and teaches us that in every respect in the New Testament. And I pray that those who hear our voices, but those who hear the voices also of people like you, Kathy, who are on the ground and who are prepared and who recognize there but for the grace of God goes me, or there but for the grace of God goes my children, that everybody realizes that you have to put a little something back in the pot. If you don't put it back in the pot, we can't take out. Okay? Who's next?
Good evening, everybody. Madam Prime Minister, you have my sympathy. Thank you. Because if there's one person on the face of the earth that I am afraid of, it's my dentist. I hope you get better soon.
Me too.
Oh, sorry. My name is Margot Belgrave, and I live in 3rd Avenue, Upper Goodland. I told Kathy to let me speak before her, because what I have to say now makes me feel like the Grinch who stole Christmas. Because I live right behind St. Leonard's School Hall. I've been living there from 1968. St. Leonard's changed up and they built the school hall there. I love the school hall. I can hear assembly any morning. I can hear all the wonderful things the school is doing. They have a steel pan, and I love that, but I get sick of it. Not because I don't want the children to play. I approve wholeheartedly of them being there and being engaged in something proper. But then I have the dance group. I think can't remember the name of the dance group, but there's a ballroom dance group there 3 evenings a week. There is the steel pan, Barbados steel pan, that comes from the Ministry of Culture. They rehearse there.
I hear you. I feel you.
No, you don't feel me yet.
No, I can tell you why I feel you, because I get a version of it at nights from another set of people, so I feel you.
Every night,
You know,
every
that
day.
often enough. But what I'm going to do for you, I can't do for myself. That's the problem. What we can do, and I feel you, because I feel that certain school halls right now, somebody go outside and tell me what you can hear from outside. When we talking, it's air conditioned and the doors are closed. I suspect your problem with the school hall is that it is open and the noise is traveling. And as much as I may not want to air condition certain places, because air condition then leads to what? With absence of proper maintenance, mold, and environmental issues. But this country has to learn to grow up and do certain things by, you can't call yourself a country that is on its way up and basic maintenance can't be sorted out. And we've already said those that are complex, we outsource to specialists. Those that are 1- and 2-story buildings that should be relatively simple, we set the protocols. One of the major protocols that you need is don't be turning off the AC between morning and nighttime, because the difference in temperatures is what encourages the mold to grow. So I'm asking that what I will ask, Minister of Education is here, and the Senior Minister in charge of Infrastructure is here. And I will ask them, wherever we have school halls that are embedded in the community, because there are some that are far away from where people live, and there are some, like Graydon Sealy, like St. Leonard's, that is in the heart of where people live. Lodge School is not. You're with me? Princess Margaret is in an area, but I don't think they can hear them where people live. But we need to do an assessment, Kay, and let us treat this as a special project. And I thank you for it, but I also want to go further. Because the last time we were here was when people also complained about noise pollution. And we've tried to manage it by talking with people. But I think we're reaching a stage now where we're going to have some reasonable discussions. Because every night can't be fet night till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. And everything has to be done. In life, there's what? Balance. Balance. And everybody, we need to get a framework for balance. Minister Ford is not here. I don't see him, right? but and he needs to be here, and his environmental people need to be here. But we're going to have a framework for how best to deal with noise pollution across the country. Because you give people a 6 and take a 9. Can't work. So clearly the voluntary aspect of it may not be the best thing to go forward. Equally, we need to have zones because the country earns its living from tourism. And we need to know that if you're in that particular zone, that you are at risk of louder music than if you're living in other places. Because if not, we will have a very quiet country, but no revenue coming in as well. So there has to be balance. Is that fair?
Yes.
But I think this one with the schools, especially given that we want the school infrastructure used more by groups, I'm prepared for us to look at closing the doors and air conditioning so that people can rehearse the band or play the drums or do whatever the God do, but it doesn't affect those of you who live in next door.
I thank you very much.
Okay, no, I thank you for coming.
Second issue, last Thursday, I went to my representative's office. He wasn't there, he was off enjoying his birthday. And I had a very interesting chat with, interesting chat with his assistant. Now, I live in 3rd Avenue, and I think you know what 3rd Avenue looks like. It is horrible. I have been assured it will be done. I would like to know when. I've been hearing it will be done for the longest time.
Ma'am, I believe that is on our list. The Prime Minister has whispered to me that we may be in line for a little bit of a berry for the start of the financial year.
Excellent.
And we have started to assess a number of, in particular, the St. Michael roads. At least about 62 have been assessed across the various communities. And we would have taken recommendations as well from your MP. So you rest assured, once we get past the rainy season, the intention is to start to have another mill and pave program done early in the year. Okay?
Okay, don't let go. While I was talking to Kanisha, we spoke about the Harbor Road, President Kennedy Drive, and that catastrophe you have there. Kanisha, that same evening, my daughter was coming home and went into that hole, burst a tire, which she had only put on there Monday. She burst that tire, then the car wouldn't start. There are we 10:30 at night trying to get a car started out on the lonely street. She burst the tire, and then after she got the tire replaced, the car wouldn't start. So we had to leave it there till next morning to be towed away. Now, I understand that it takes special planning for that road to be fixed. But I think you should forego the planning and just fix the road. Because
there's only one problem. As Sandy may not, the fiber optics are laid out there between every building because of the industrial estate. So that is partially probably why, and then with the port as well. So they can't leave out the planning. But I get your message that you want it done quickly. But let me also say that part of the difficulty with the potholes, and Sandy is more than capable of defending herself and the ministry. But you see this rain? Oh, this ain't usual.
no, it's not.
And what I've had to say as recent as in Baku last week in Azerbaijan, where the meeting on the climate conference, is that we focus on the big things, the hurricanes. You understand? Even the droughts. But you see this continuous rain, like warm blow, that's what's killing us. And because we are getting an intensity, and I say it and I'm not sure how many people are taking it in, that the convection rain, the kind of that intense downpour, is not something that is traditional to Barbados. For years it was traditional to Jamaica. For years it's traditional in Miami. People would tell you that if you're on the evening flight from Miami, God help you, because you really don't know whether you're going to leave or not, because all of a sudden you have these sudden thunderstorms and outbursts. And all of a sudden, Barbados is like that. You're coming across someday, midday, and all of a sudden you see a black cloud over from St. George right back Dunkirk down to your constituency more often than not. The same dentist I went to today, when I got there, there were about 5 or 6 cars in the car park opposite there by the grotto that were literally, for the people to get in the cars, would have had to go through water. We have to be sensitive to it. And that's why we brought on Mr. Bess, was seconded from CDB, to be able to help us, because Santi and them have to change. Mr. Canterbury, y'all got to change all the metrics that you used before for what was a reasonable amount, was a reasonable angle to be able to capture water. And all that infrastructure, all those standards were set when in the 50s and 60s. Mrs. Canterbury? Even before that? So it's no longer applicable. And obviously we can't change it all overnight, but we have to make sure that everything we're doing going forward is to the new standards, and then going back, little by little by little, based on priority, start to change the standards, because if not, you're going to have, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. This is the new reality. If we get the global methane agreement, we might be able to shave off 0.3, 0.4, 0.2 of a degree, we don't know. But for the most part, this is the new reality. So the people who would tell you that you don't get them kind of floods in St. Lucie, never did in 30, 40, 50 years. They live out here, we never see it. All those things gone through the window. Okay? So I'm asking for everyone to appreciate that. It is going to take the country at least a decade, at least 10 years, to start to change out and to make the country resilient and fit for the new reality that we are facing. Okay? But in the meantime, you will get Harbor Road reviewed, because we have to. And with respect to the other small roads program, everybody's own is urgent, but yours will be done as well. Well, you get in also. The school we can look at urgent. For you. No, that's why we went back to urgent. I ain't doing a relative.
In the meantime, though, I was going to put a barrel in the hole. It's now 2 holes. I was told I can't do anything to block the road.
Sorry, not just that. If you take it upon yourself to put the barrel there, as well meaning as you are, somebody swerves off of that barrel and hits somebody, you liable.
Okay.
I
leave the barrel out. But we need, what I'm saying is,
what he's trying to do is to describe the difference between misfeasance and malfeasance. But I don't feel that it should extend to the individual, but that's a different matter. But the law can be an ass sometimes.
But we just need like a barricade so that people won't keep going into it all the time.
Right. So what we've been doing is not only using MTW's team to do the pothole patching, because I think everybody knows we've had concerns in terms of the delivery of that type of work, and we've been trying to improve how MTW does and does its efficiency on the roads. But what we've done is outsource some of the work. So when people raise issues in terms of potholes, especially after this intense weather, we have the contractors going out and actually doing the pothole patching. Now, as you can appreciate, when we have the intensity like we did over the last few days, everywhere wants doing. So it means that we're not going to get to every single road all at the same time. And so we've had to, send out the teams, work with MTW as well to be able to send out the various teams to be able to do the works, all right? There's also now on the mtw.gov.bb website, there's also a section where persons can actually identify any complaints, whether it's street lights, potholes, roads. Just you can send in those messages to us, and we are compiling those so that we can troubleshoot from time to time across the ministry. All right?
Thank you so
Thank you, ma'am.
much. Oh, by the way, Madam Prime Minister, that rain you talk about, it's not letting the crops grow either.
Yeah, that's half the problem too, and we have to look for more climate resilient agriculture. Because the other problem is that when you move from drought to excess rain, and then you get the new pests, and then you get different other problems. So trust me, this is insidious. It is eating at us in every way. People hear me talk about climate. Oh, Prime Minister talk about climate again. And they don't realize that almost all of these things that we are facing, from the heat with the chickens, right back through to the shortage of vegetables because of the pests, to the shortage of vegetables out of St. Vincent, and that's where we would normally import from weekly because of Hurricane Beryl, all of these things. And in Grenada, they had floods last weekend again. No? So, let's go. Who's next?
Good night, everyone. Madam Prime Minister. Oh, the name is Antoinette Goddard. I'm from Block 11D, Rosemont, Deacons Road, Black Rock, St. Michael. Right. I'm here with a particular issue, but before I go there, Madam Prime Minister, permit me. Sometime back, I called the radio station with my complaint and whatever, seeking help. And in the conversation with the person who's now deceased, sorry to hear that, I made a statement, that woman ain't had a right coming to tell civil servants to do what she paid them to do. And some people tell me it was offensive and whatever. And I say the next time I see you in person, I'm going to publicly apologize to you. Although I have called the station
I didn't hear you, and I
too.
thank you for the apology, but I didn't hear you, but I'm not too thin-skinned. If
Right.
it would
I
be
know,
the
but,
wrong job.
you know,
But I appreciate
do
your
the right
wanting
thing.
to set a standard
Right.
for everyone else. Thank
Good.
you.
Good. Next thing, ma'am,
And we offer our sympathy as well,
Mhm.
now that you've raised it, for the passing of Mr. Blackman.
Sure.
And I'm sure that those who would have been accustomed to his voice, including those like me who he didn't necessarily give an easy time to, we are sorry, and we
But you
offer
back
his
broad.
family. No, but we are all Bajan. And there, but for the grace of God goes I, as I say. So we offer our sympathy to his family. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I get into my point, Madam Prime Minister, I want to heckle you a bit. I'm a born Catholic. It has been my dream from a little girl to shake the Pope's hand. I've lived through 3 now. Madam Prime Minister, your next time you're going up there, camera with you. Please, I beg you. Please, I beg you. You saw me in the church up to Saturday. You know.
Yeah,
You know.
Wilfred told me that to remind you that when I shake on behalf of all of us. But I, like you, to trust me, the Pope is, in my view, one of the greatest leaders that the world has now. And when I talk about global moral strategic leadership, that is who I refer to. We won't agree on everything, but by the same token, we agree on much. And he has been a beacon for the world with respect to how to treat people and to how to have and to live a Christian life and not only just talk about it. So, thank you.
Now to my issue at hand, Madam Prime Minister. I am very proud and I am touched by you fighting hard with this climate change. But I got a big climate problem in my area here now, in Rosemont. And I'm going to like to know you in the public eye and international eye, and then something happened in your backyard. It ain't look right. It ain't look good. My situation is that on the 4th of February this year, one of National Housing tenants decided to set up a motor repair shop right in front of my door. When I say right in front of my door is here, and where you stand, where you're sitting, is the workshop. Madam, in my house, my son, 42, who got knocked down when he was 14 years old, is now a chronic thyroid gland sufferer, and he's also, as a consequence of the accident, he's now a patient of the psychiatric hospital by Luton. I am an asthmatic, a cancer survivor, and some of all sorts of issues I have. But if people at National Housing need me to come and lay my autonomy, my body's choice,
I don't think you need to do that.
To understand.
Hold on. I don't think you need to do that, Ms. Goddard. Normally, I wouldn't take any personal things, but this is beyond personal because it relates to all the residents in that particular area.
Yeah.
So without you having to say more or expose your business more, which I don't need you to do, William, can you please have town planning go down there and do a check, because you can't be doing that kind of work in developments without the requisite town planning permission. By the same token, the government has been building mechanic bays. The first one is at Grisette's. I think we're doing another one at 6 Roads. I'm prepared to expedite that even more because it is not fair to the people who live in communities who don't themselves expect that they will be unfared with access to their home or unfared by the environmental conditions created as a result of business activities in residential areas. I think most people will try to be reasonable, but there's a point at which you also have to have people recognizing that they have to respect that this is where people live. The other problem that comes, and I have a lot of complaints all across the island, is that when you have cars put down there so, between cats and rats
But that's
sleeping
the
in
problem.
them.
I'm not crossing you, madam, but that's the problem I'm having with
I would
rats.
imagine so.
All, wherever that tenant, I don't know if I'm permitted to call his name, wherever he sees an open space big enough to hold a 2x2 vehicle, he got all the roads more ladder with vehicles. Some working, some ain't working. He took over a quarter of the general car park. Right upon East St. Thomas Street, I came here to you last year and asked to get treated or trim or cut down. The whole place emptied. Mr. Williams, like Mr. Clark, like he ducking from me now. Don't say ain't true. Don't say ain't true. And every day, even vehicles that go on logos for transport board being repaired there. Don't say ain't true.
Okay, no problem. But Ms. Ting, don't you do
The
what I tell you.
gas,
Don't
the
play the
tinners,
balls outside the off stamp. You talking to
gas,
me.
the tinners,
So stay
everything.
focused. Okay? I've spoken to the senior minister there. You can give him your direct phone number and address so that when he finishes, they can have a consultation, not just with you, but all the neighbors in the area, because it's not a matter unique to you. Okay, so leave that with us, please.
And I've called every department.
You know what I mean? They'll probably hear you. Look, I want you to come on, say here.
Yeah, madam, but a minute, please. Let me voice something. You see that sign there? I love it. Whenever I come here, this is thick of me. Where there's no vision, the people shall perish. Call housing, call police, call EPD, EPD blaming Ministry of Health.
You talking about the same matter? Well,
Yes, it's the problem.
I like you to remind everybody that the last time I checked, one ministry in Tanzania, the next ministry in Lithuania, the next ministry in Bolivia, it is one country called Barbados. You understand? And therefore, that's why I have sent you to the senior minister in charge of infrastructure, because he cuts across all them ministries that you talk about, and his role is to find the solution and get it executed. So that's why we have senior ministers. So this siloed approach from one ministry to the next, and people dodging both and hiding, okay?
But let me say, you don't like to deal with the personal things, but sometimes to explain, you
No,
got to expose.
Madam.
And I've been begging.
Madam, you can't ask
Don't
me.
tell me
You
listen.
can't ask me to be disciplined, but what you want me to impose discipline on, and then you want to breach the rules of engagement here. So
I
that's
ain't
why
breaching the rules of
I don't
engagement,
want you to
madam.
tell me
Sorry.
no more of your personal business. Just come to William, and let's deal with the matter for you.
Thank you.
That's fair.
Thank you.
William, come to her, please, because she's walking with it. Who's next, please?
Good night, Madam Prime Minister and panel. My name is Cassandra Boyne. I live at Mansion Road, Bank Hall, St. Michael. I have a lot of things to talk about, but they tell me that I couldn't talk about so many things tonight. But since we were on the area of talking about the roads, I want to start there. Mansion Road has become a major tributary, morning, noon, and night. The road is in need of serious repair, and the unofficial neighborhood watch has written to the ministry, MTW, to have some sleeping police put in the road. And that is to stop the motorcyclists from wheeling all through the district.
Miss Boyne, I want to help you too. Because just before coming here, I was in my constituency this evening. And a scrambler bike went through so hard and so loud in a road that got apartments with little children living in them.
Yeah.
And I sent a message through my personal assistant to Santia's people telling them that St. Michael's Speak start at 5 o'clock this evening and that the Member of Parliament for St. Michael Northeast is the first complainant. And I ain't joking, because I have asked for humps for Pioneer Road and Civilian Road for the longest time. You understand?
Yeah.
And I've asked for it largely because of the same problem. And the notion that you have these people on scramblers going through. Look, the Ministry of Sports, National Sports Council, has already entered an agreement on Bushy Park. I have asked them now to look at the dirt track, not the dirt track, what do you call it? The drag track, that they will have to do the extended paving for to get dragged. And if, drag track, and if necessary, we'll find a dirt track for those who got scramblers. But the roads of Barbados are not made for people to breach the road traffic act and the speed limits, or to cause anybody danger, or to cause anybody to lose their life.
It's true.
And I'm clear on that, because when the person going down in the grave, you're going to say, what? You shoulda, you coulda. Can't work.
And the
So,
interesting thing about Mansion Road,
and I'm going to ask wherever there are other problems. Santi just told you about a mechanism to let the ministry know. I want a program, because the notion that somebody can get hurt or killed in a community because somebody is just young and reckless,
yeah.
or old and reckless, can't work.
And it is a small road, so like when Abundant Life has a funeral, you get cars parked on both sides, and I can't get out my driveway. So I am very grateful for that. I also
But that's
have
a separate problem from the parking on both sides of the road. And I think that MP, Mr. Speaker, you may want to have a meeting with the residents of Mansion Road and Abundant Life, and to have some kind of system where it is clear that people will only park on one side of the road, so that if there's a fire or there's an emergency, the residents can still get out and get to the hospital. And it may well be that you may have to speak to the police about helping you with what kind of, because if you just put a cone, somebody can move the cone easily too.
It is true.
So I don't know if we buy some crash bars, or the church buys some crash bars and keeps there to make sure that people don't
park
on both sides.
Yeah.
But in addition, Santa, you may need some strong no parking signs as well too. Right, no problem. All right, let's go.
I also have a concern about the pathway on Bay Street leading to the Center for the Blind Workshop. It used to be a clear area before, and the blind persons could easily get off the bus and walk up there. I don't know how many people have seen it lately. It has become like a shanty town. There are little huts up in there now with people living. People have planted stuff there, and it looks to me as it has become very treacherous for those persons who are not sighted to go up there. It really needs a cleanup. And every time I pass there, I get a little nervous, because it's just a little strange kind of thing. I applaud the bus drivers who would stop and.
So I'm going to ask Corey to go, it's on his side, to go also with Mr. Ali and see what's happening down there, and to make sure, Mr. Headley, sorry, I keep calling you Mr. Ali, because I think of the other Rudy that way. with Mr. Headley to go and see what is really happening in terms of the blockages. Now that I see Minister Ford is here, Adrian, in your absence, we spoke about the need for a structured conversation nationally on noise pollution. And I'd like us to have a green paper done on it for consultation, so that, because this is something that is going to be very prickly. We know it already, but the country must deal as a mature nation with prickly issues too. Okay? Recognizing that there will still also have to be some zones that are areas that are zoned for nighttime entertainment, but how we treat to it and what is outdoors and what is indoors will have different rules, obviously. Okay?
Yeah, my next concern is that there is no regulatory body in Barbados to govern coaches, counselors, life coaches, and mentors, and people like myself who does transformational therapy work. It would be good to have a body where we would be able to pay a fee, like how doctors pay a fee, and be regularized, because a lot of people out there are counseling people after a 6-week program, and then when they come to me, I have problems. I follow the American...
This is for social workers and counselors?
Not
or
only,
just counselors?
not only social workers, counselors, life coaches, holistic counselors, mentors, and transformational therapists. We need to have something in place.
So let me just say I agree with you entirely. 2 levels. The social workers I know are already busy trying to establish such.
Yeah.
To make sure that persons have a certain standard. I think what you're trying to ensure is that not everybody could just pop up and offer counseling,
Yes.
because it's a lot more damaging to get bad counseling
Yes.
than no counseling at all.
At all.
And so I think you're trying to safeguard persons, particularly persons who are coming because they have a hurt. And so I totally agree with you. I think we have to set a level of professionalism across a lot of these areas, because the times have changed. And there are a number of people now who, when they get exposure, it may give you a personal experience. A few years ago, a lady, we were talking, and she told me she was a counselor. And I said, oh, so, where'd you train up? She told me she did a small course, but I said, where? She didn't want to tell me where, but you know what she thought she was a counselor? She was a loans officer in a bank. And she told me she had to counsel so many people who had problems when they came for a loan. So she had no real experience, no real training, but she had an office set up on Column Rock. That's a true story.
It's true.
And so we have to make sure that we establish a certain amount of standards.
A certain level, yes.
And so I agree with
Yes.
you entirely, and I think it's something that we could look at in the ministry too.
Yes.
But on the flip side of that, is this. There are people who have no qualifications, who have no formal training. Many men who would have been in communities doing sports and so on, who would have been community elders, who have a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom. And I would not want to deny them the opportunity to impart that wisdom in a way that has kept Barbados for years. Do you understand?
I understand.
So like growing up, there were community elders that I knew, Hamila and Rodney Grant and those guys who you would go to for counseling and for mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a bit of both,
Yeah.
I think. But if
But
you
you
want to
need to
offer
have it.
yourself as a professional,
Yes.
then you need to have the...
Yes,
I
you
agree.
need to have it. I also want to talk about, we hear a lot about helping children and giving assistance. And I want to put myself out here and say that I did a handwriting competition for primary schools for 10 years single-handedly. Yes, the ministry gave me permission to do it, but that was the stopgap. I basically had to beg them to send somebody to give credence to the program, which I didn't think was right. I paid the money for the prizes, everything.
I agree.
Handwriting is essential. We need it. I don't care how much AI. I would like to restart the program, but I need the assistance from the ministry.
No problem.
Madam Prime Minister.
What you may want to do is put together the project proposal.
It's in there.
No problem, but I need to see it. Because
Okay.
what would happen typically is that they would not necessarily have budgeted for it. So if we're going to go outside of what was budgeted in this year, or we catch it for April 1 next year. So it just depends on what is involved, and we can look at it.
I would
Okay?
also like to show you this book. Actually, I'm going to give you this copy. This is a book that I wrote, and it is a book on menstruation for girls 8 to 12. We have a lot of young ladies in schools who have no information. This I also took to the ministry. So this book will help all of those young ladies who are coming to that place. Let me just touch on two other things quickly. The violence in schools. The violence in schools. When I see the videos going around, it's like a feeding frenzy when these little children start to fight. And I am wondering, I know that you all have an initiative to have these new schools built. And I hope that you all can have the persons who build buildings like the banks and stuff like that on to implement how they set up their color scheme. Because I think energy has a lot to do with what goes on in a school. And you will never see a bank painting red or yellow. They have specific colors which calms people down. Even in mental hospitals, you will see certain colors. And I would like...
You know why you're laughing? You see the colors in here?
Yes.
Okay. These
Yes.
colors remind anybody of anything?
Hospital?
These are the colors we used for the schools when I was Minister of Education. Beige with a lime green.
Calming colors.
That's the exact colors.
Yeah.
If you look at the colors, okay, the majority of schools that were done in our time, my time, have these exact same colors. And it was for that exact same reason.
And you find that with the energy, you find that anything that is broken, torn, need fixing, we should get fixed, because those things hold the energy. And those children take on that energy of what is going on around them. We can get some plants, we can get some pictures on the wall, of our national heroes or somebody.
That's the same thing Santi is saying to me.
Yes. I think that's something that we should look into as we move into this new school era. I will get some licks for this, but I don't believe that churches should be in schools. I really don't believe so. That's my belief, and nobody has to agree with me. But there's a certain amount of energy that goes with certain things, and I don't feel there should be a mix.
You mean having services on a Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will leave that there. For all those who have an ear, let them hear. I have a few more things, but the final thing I want to speak to is the national assistance.
Obviously caused a lot of ruckus in here already. So can I ask
That's okay.
everybody to please come back down and let us continue? Thank you.
The final thing that I want to speak about is the National Assistance Board. I have only now had the experience of having not home help, the companion in my home. And I am appalled at what I see. The phone consistently, no assistance for the person in some respects. The phone, they come late, they don't come, nobody calls to say it. I've spoken to Mr. Griffith on several occasions, and I haven't seen any change. He has told me that there's so much amount of money for training, and I have a few ideas about what I think training for them should be. I can give it to you tonight. And
You're looking right at the minister.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask him to meet with you and Mr. Griffith. And I've just been saying to Santia that a lot of the things that we are hearing here, especially going into next year, Parish Speaks is Ideas Forum. So y'all are really introducing 2025.
Okay, good.
Before 2025 gets here. But I want the country to own the solutions to solving our problems. Because if it appears only to be government or political or partisan, then we're not going to make it.
I agree.
You understand? So
I
I want to salute you.
Thank
and
you.
Kathy opened it and today appropriately, and ma'am, you followed as well, both of you. So all of you have come down that wicket towards bringing the solutions and not just the problems. And that is what is going to help make us resilient to all of the things that we confront in this country. So I really, 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 really want to salute all four of you who have spoken so far and to indicate this is the spirit that the country needs. Other than Kathy, I really don't know the rest of you well, but I am very impressed. And as I said, Kay, I'd like you to sit down and meet with Reverend Boyd and to see how we can work together in different other areas. And Kirk, same thing with the National Assistance Board.
Yeah, I want to applaud you for all the work that you and your ministers are doing.
Thank you.
And I want to offer my services. I will leave my CV, and wherever I can assist and help, I will be willing to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, too. Who's next?
Thank you.
I have it on CD. I have it.
Mr. President.
And I have already donated some to Paradise.
Just give us 1 second.
Okay, go ahead. Hi, my name is Natasha Prentice, Citrus Lane, Lower Burney. Natasha Prentice, Citrus Lane, Lower Burney, St. Michael. Good. Okay. Too close? Oh, okay. This better? Okay. Great. So I have 3 concerns and 3 experiences. I had an experience last week, 2 Fridays ago. I went to a store and I saw the Black Lives Matter on TV, and the situation, it had black people in overseas. When I was called a nigger, I
Take time and explain to us. You're talking about Barbados?
I'm talking about Barbados.
So therefore, let's talk. Let's take your time and breathe
Yeah.
and talk with us.
When I was called a nigger, I went into the store, the $2 store. And the gentleman, 2 years ago, I had told him, I thought we had a good rapport. And I went to the gentleman and I told him, well, the price here I have is, I bought this from another store, which would be $7.99, and you have the same product here for $18 and something. We thought we had a good rapport. He didn't take it well. So after that, every time I go into the store, I would try to avoid him, right? And because he would say names, so I tried to avoid him. This particular day, I saw him to the front of the store.
We don't need to know who you saw, but just speak generically for now, because it's still a public thing and the person
Okay,
here.
sorry.
But you speak generically.
This is the first time, sorry. So when I went to the store, when I was leaving, he was saying some things before. So when I was leaving, I know the girl heard too. Yes, leave, nigga. Up to now, right? I can't believe that I get called a nigga. When I went to the police station, that was not it. When I went to the police station, right? The law, I free to say the law bias. I had the experience that I could say that the law is biased. And I went to the police station, angry, of course, of what was said to me. I can't get to the police station, and then when I get to the police station, the anger turn off. Then I would be pretending. The officer that was there, we had run-ins years ago, and he told the gentleman, would you like her to stop coming in your store? I can't understand what was happening, Miss Marley. I was there, I up to now, today, I still can't believe, right, that I would come to you all to say, well, this is what happened. And you all will look to charge me, saying that I disturbed the peace, right? That is one situation. Another situation is
Did you raise the matter with anybody? How long ago this happened?
This happened 2 weeks ago.
Okay, you raised the matter with the Police Complaints Authority or
I
anyone?
went to Mr. Thomas over at the headquarters, and he brought the situation. He enlightened the station sergeant. The station sergeant had known, but he enlightened them, and then when he come back, as I told you before.
So have you been charged or not?
I left the station.
Okay, so they haven't charged
I
you.
didn't want to get charged.
No problem, no problem.
I left
But the
the
point
station.
is that not only that your other concern is that your initial concerns were not dealt with.
True.
Right. Now, I have to tell you something which regrettably this country has never dealt with, and the Honorable Attorney General is dealing with it now. And in the context, I'm sorry that Minister Simmons and the AG both aren't here, but we are going to appoint a Human Rights Commissioner in the country. And we're going to do it because we can't assume that people's human rights are not breached. Secondly, we are also going to have to pass legislation. Right now, if the state said that to you, you could sue the state. But when a private individual says it to you, or a private company, there is no basis for it. I have said cannot continue, and that we need to have legislation that holds people accountable for discriminatory action. We have it in terms of employment, and Colin Jordan, thank him, would have introduced that. We're here in the Workers' Union now, and they would have been part and parcel of that consultative process that led to the legislation against discrimination in the place of employment. But what we need is in anywhere, once you are a private person, you really should not be practicing any form of racism or misogyny or whatever. And the legislation now has to come, which will make the individual accountable, and by us creating a human rights office as well, be able to have a human rights commissioner with the staff that can start to follow up on some of these things that are humbugging people in this country and taking away the level, fair playing field that we should have, especially for a country that champions social justice as much as we do. Okay?
Another thing. When the welfare, my thing is, when mothers or fathers or anybody go to the welfare, I think they go to represent, most people that go to the welfare go representing their children. When a parent is in front of, the officer, I don't think the officer should see the parent to make the decision, because we come representing our children. Everybody know Belgians like appearances. Everybody know Belgians look to keep up the style, like to look nice. Even if they're going the cheapest shirt, but it look good. You understand? But when you go to the welfare and you saying to, well, I don't have anything in the cupboards, and you come back tomorrow. What we gonna do in the meantime when we got 6 children home hungry? I mean, I don't got 6 children home, but I speaking about that woman that will go for 6 children home, and you gotta come back tomorrow. What are we going to do in them hours that me and the children hungry? That is another thing. And another case, the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education, the janitorial system. Who, the janitors. The janitors, I don't know what to say. Janitors, who do the janitors go to for rescue?
Public Service Commission, but obviously the principals and them are dependent on if it's a secondary school. In some instances, I think the secondary school is run by the board, but in the primary school system, ultimately it's the Services Commission. Bottom line is, however, that the principals will report the behavior because they're the ones who are the day-to-day persons there.
Yes, that's what you mean. You say the principals report the behavior. But if the janitors want to report behavior of the principals?
Everybody's free to write and report to the ministry. You understand? But just because you report don't mean it's fact.
Yeah.
Then an investigation will be occasioned.
Yeah, I understand that, Ms. Marley. But when you go and you lay your case to the Ministry of Education about the principals are being heard and not the janitors. If the
I would have to make sure that that's not the case because this government does not endorse or tolerate one-sided behavior. And to that extent, I will ask the Minister of Education, you will go and meet
Yes,
with
I
her
will
now
go. Yes,
and
please.
ensure that whatever information you have for her to investigate, whether it is you or through somebody else, that they're in a position so to do. Minister Humphrey is now walking back in, but he will be able to answer you. There were concerns raised, Kirk, well, the treatment of persons at welfare when they go in, if they dress a little too
if it's dressed
tidy and pretty,
that means they don't want welfare.
and that very often they're told to
And
come
if
back tomorrow in urgent
come back
situations.
tomorrow, the system down.
So, good night. I try to be very honest about the things that we're facing, right? And this conversation comes up with welfare, to less extent NAB, less extent Child Care Board, all these social service agencies. I have been very clear that when persons turn up at the welfare office or any office under the ministry, for the most part, it is a person who is in need and coming because they have a need. And that the way we treat to people must leave them feeling a sense of dignity and pride. I say at all of my meetings, anybody in here who's, I know if you know, I say all the time. We had done some training, a number of training programs, customer service, and so on and so forth. In fact, there was we also got UE to do a study and to ask persons' satisfaction. Surprisingly, the results actually came back very high. 70% of the staff, of the clients of welfare actually felt they were treated well. It was the 30% with whom it seems that there is this issue. If I take you back a few years, I think I said it here last year. My mother, when we were living back in the Pine, she had an issue where she had gone in, she'd been laid off as a conductress, had some savings, but all the savings went, as would happen if you're laid off, right? And she went to see the social worker at housing. And then they came and they did a visit, and the person said to her, this is in the 90s, but you have a VCR, you have a whatnot, you have all these things, you can't want the help. She never got the help. Corey and I would have seen a very recent example where somebody remarked that one of the girls that we had been speaking to had long, long nails and eyelashes. This is since I became minister. So she can't want the help. So I know what you were saying is true. It is not all the officers, though. It is maybe some, and it may not be, and it may not be every officer every day. Truth is, some of them have hard days too.
True.
Like when you're seeing a number of clients and every day you're being beat down, sometimes you might say something unfortunate. So we know we have to do that work, and I would never deny it. We're in the process now of, we did a deep dive from the time I became minister. PM had asked that we do a deep dive into the processes of welfare, how long it takes for people to get help, what is the nature of their experience when they're dealing with it. So we've done that. We're also amalgamating these social services and bringing on new staff and new skills. One would be a client advocate to make the journey and the process easier for people when they actually interact with the welfare department. So there's been some changes. I think there's been some improvement, but it's going to be a process. But I say all that to say that we are working very hard. The truth is some of the welfare officers see a number of clients in one day. And so sometimes there could be a situation for burnout. We've talked about giving time off and so on and so forth. But none of that makes it okay for people to speak to other people the way you said you were spoken to. And then the other thing is also true, right?
I was not treated anyway. What I was saying was the timing.
You time in.
If a client came in and the client said, well, I don't have anything home.
I understand.
You understand?
And it takes too long.
My thing is, if they just want a food voucher, because you come for a food voucher, you're representing your children. You are not there for you, you're representing your children. So when you come for a food voucher for your children, right? I guess people they see you and not hear that I got home children. So when they say to come back tomorrow, or I call you in the system back up.
I understand.
In the meanwhile,
I am a minister and all of us are MPs. Mm-hmm. So we hear this all the time. People go to welfare, it takes too long to get a voucher, a food voucher. Mm-hmm. And so we want to expedite. That's why he was saying we did a deep dive into the processes, how long it takes and so on. Mm-hmm. But there are some cases where, for example, I remember I called about one of my constituents, and I was about to lose it. But that my constituent had been to welfare the week before and had just received a food voucher and was going back the next week for another food voucher, but she didn't tell me this. So when she went back the next week for the food voucher, they said to her, well, we can't give you one so soon because we just gave you one, and there are many people for whom we have to give vouchers. So there's always some backstory in some circumstances, but where it is a straightforward transaction, then it shouldn't take so long. And we're working to make sure that it doesn't take this long.
And another issue, and I hear Miss Martley said Miss Martley said that she likes solutions. Too long, too very long. The children, the youth, as if you say, because I was a troubled youth too. So I think more than counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists, you need people who had the experience that reformed themselves to talk to the children. You don't need people that never had an experience coming home and see the mother cuffing the father and go to school and be silent the next day. You need people who have had the experience in doing drugs, smoking, robbing, killing, thieving. You need those people in there to get to these children. It getting out of hand. You don't need psychologists.
You need both. So yeah, I agree with you. You need both, and that is why I defend the decision. I think one of the people here to speak after you is someone who is on the Citizen Society, the Advisory Bureau for Citizen Security, and what we said is that I want everybody involved pulling weight. Yes. You understand? Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. True. And secondly, those who have been convicted, there are a whole host of convictions that can be expunged under our law. Yes. And we've asked the AG to review them again and see where we are with some of those, because I think that there can still be some tweaking on that system. So I think Kirk has heard you clear. And those who are working, and we need to find a way, and Corey has heard, I believe, and has already down that line. We're working with everybody. You can't see and judge, okay? If people are engaged differently and in the middle of a criminal activity, different story. But the ones like you who have reformed, you say you used to get trouble, but you're good again, come and help us make a difference with some of these people. Clearly, there'll have to be a vetting process, which is natural, but his ministry knows those protocols for that already. Okay?
In my time.
But well said.
Sorry. In my time, there was the government industrial school. You don't need the government industrial school. You need people to implant confidence first. You need people to implant confidence first, because I think it's something to do with self-esteem and confidence. Where to come from, they need to know that even if you come from Nelson Street, Chapman Lane, you could get there. You just got the mindset and build something within them so that they could got that that they want to push and go
But I
through.
go further. There's no community in Barbados that ain't produce good people, that every one of the communities in Barbados have produced people that have excelled.
Yes.
So let us be clear about that. You understand? So I agree with you entirely, and I hope that you can speak with Kirk and Corey and the others like yourself. I also believe, and Kirk and Corey know this only too well, in something called a reasoning session. I don't want no media there. It ain't being done for no props. It ain't being done for no social media. It is about engaging with people and talking. And I have asked the two of them to engage and have those sessions at least once a month. Because unless we learn to reason together, we cannot build together. Full stop. And that's one of the reasons why we have these parish speaks. And I continue to do it because I hear things that I don't hear the rest of the month. You understand what I'm telling you? I hear things direct here that I don't hear the rest of the month.
Yes.
So that's why this is important.
Okay. So that is my plan. Good night.
Lord bless you. Thank you for your forthright presentation. I really feel energized by this session here tonight. So thank you. Yes, sir.
Prime Minister, members of the round table, the high table, almost said round table. Good evening. My name is Anderson Ford. School Gap, Hinesbury Road, just next to St. Michael West. Prime Minister, before I raise my issue, I just want to give praise where praise is due. At the last meeting, last St. Michael Speaks meeting that we had here, I raised a number of concerns, and let me say that to date, most of these concerns have been met, satisfied. Through the good office of our Member of Parliament, Mr. Gibbs. He did a tremendously good job in meeting our concerns.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Right, so I don't want to bury Caesar tonight. I want to also praise him. So, in so doing, my MP deserves a lot of commendation. Prime Minister, my main issue this evening is the posing of great danger by oncoming traffic within the Hinesbury Road and Prescott Bottom district to residents in a very big way. It is posing a grave danger to the lives of pedestrians traveling the district, particularly the children from Hinesbury School. Prime Minister, we have a big problem.
What aspect of it? I heard you call 2 roads, but I'm not sure what's causing the problem.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Okay.
Right. So what I also want to say is that we are having a big problem with PSVs and those noisy nuisances for scramblers coming off the main road. Main road posing a grave danger to the residents, endangering the lives of people. Now, in another location, Prime Minister, I had requested that we erect slow humps in strategic areas within the community. About 3 years ago, approximately, I made the request. Nothing has been done as yet. So I just want to be short in saying that I am making that appeal once more, that we erect or put down slow humps within the Hinesbury Road, Prescott Bottom area to avoid endangering the lives.
Speeding. The same point I made earlier this evening with the lady who spoke.
Correct.
And I told Santi, look, I don't like to say these things because when I talk about the persons with the coconut vendors and the thing, a couple of weeks later, the man foot break up. Enough. I do not believe that we are being fair. Children deserve to be children. And very often in roads that are not main roads, children will run out, will run in between houses because families live next to one another. Next thing you know, a child get what? Lick up by a scrambler coming down at speed.
Precisely.
And then regrettably, too many people are also not accepting responsibility for accidents when
Exactly.
they happen.
And what is
and the
happening?
hit and run.
And what is happening, Prime Minister, is that these PSV vehicles, they are coming off the main road in order to get position or prime position over the competitor, right? And in so doing, they endanger the lives of the children within the district.
Everybody can soon have problems because the truth is that there are a lot of cameras, as you know, on main arteries, and there'll be more cameras on arteries soon. So if people feel that they can get away with it, in the States where you feel you run a red light, you'll see a ticket come 2-3 weeks in the mail later, and you don't even know that you get catch. So rest assured, and I know that Santia is also working with them on the regulations. You speak, because you know it better than me.
Right. Go ahead.
So following last year's concerns as well here, we've since been able to pass the Transport Authority regulations, which we've been saying for a while the Transport Authority needed the teeth to go after not only the owners but also the actual drivers as well, and in some cases the conductors. And what we've done, I mean, I say go after, but it really is a case of getting people to realize that safety has to come first. We've been able to focus on giving everybody different responsibilities under the law. So owners have specific responsibilities. The drivers have to attend certain courses now, certified courses, to be able to make sure that they can take up the position of being able to drive on the road. And similarly, the conductors as well. And so starting in January, we're going to have the rollout of some classes at Barbados Community College for the convenience of the drivers and the conductors to start those programs. And that couldn't have happened without obviously the support of all of the stakeholders. And I think the public as well has called for this for a long, long time. It's not perfect, but I can say to you that we've at least been able to say we have regulations, and it has covered a lot of the things that you've described. People going off route, people, as we saw recently on social media, people, you know, cutting across the road on the wrong side of the road. So the regulations now will allow the Transport Authority to provide a proper hearing when those concerns are raised, and to be able to treat to it with the law behind it as well. Okay.
Thank you. I look forward to this problem being resolved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And who's next? Yes, ma'am.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Prime Minister. Can you hear me well now? Too close?
You need to talk louder.
You can hear me now?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. Better?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Faith Chauka, and I live at 2nd Avenue, Fairfield in Black Rock. And I have a number of concerns, most of them relating to children with special needs in Barbados. I am the mother of a 13-year-old.
What's the name again there? Faith?
Faith Chauka.
Can you spell that, please?
CHUKWUKA.
Okay. I would have gotten that right. Okay.
I am the mother of a 13-year-old boy.
Where you from?
Barbados. I have a Nigerian name though.
No.
2nd Avenue, Fairfield. Okay. So I have a 13-year-old son with special needs, and he does not fit one of the, what I call the big four, one of the 4 conditions that are allowed to receive the NASS special needs grants. He has a genetic condition, but it is not Down syndrome, and therefore I would have registered him, but we were rejected for the application.
So let me help you straight off. I expanded the category on the basis of recommendations from both the minister and the chairman of the advisory commission, Mr. Hinkson. The intent, and this is what I want people to understand, because very often we say that our people get black right and white right, but we don't get gray. It is not intended to exclude anybody. It is intended to be able to get everybody who has a functional disability that is stopping them from being able to function normally, either mentally or physically. And therefore, I don't need you to go into any more, my dear. I want you to talk to this gentleman here, Minister Humphrey, And not only you, because I can't pretend to know everything that there is to know about disabilities or medicine or whatever, but I know about law, and I know about policy, and I know that the intention of this government is to be able to help people who cannot help themselves. And they cannot help themselves because of a disability that goes beyond anything that we can as humans do to help them, other than to make it easier for them to function. So you please sit down and let not your heart be troubled. And Minister Humphrey, please deal with her and any other persons of similar circumstances. Now, if you have something else, if you have something else besides the disability issue, then you can speak.
Well, this is relating to disability, but I don't know if it would go under Minister Humphrey.
You tell us.
This one is about the transport board and the transportation for the special needs children. So there's one school bus for the Derrick Smith Secondary School and Vocational Center, which leaves the Granville Williams bus terminal. It doesn't traverse the Princess Alice terminal to collect children from there or any other terminal. It leaves at 7:30 on morning.
I got you. In addition to that, we would have announced in the resolution in Parliament recently that Santia was getting some more buses. No, but all of them will be disabled friendly? Yes. Right. And then we also spoke to also getting a few dedicated ones, because we know that even outside of the school run, we provide services. I think the disabilities unit has two. It's two, right? Right, and we've committed to getting some more as well. So between the two, both the disabilities unit and the transport board, you should begin to see next year an increase in the number of buses. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. But and I want to repeat, the government has committed itself to doing an audit of all public spaces and government facilities. And I told Kirk, and I can't remember if I said it in Parliament, but that use also members of the community to help you do the audit. Because just because somebody is disabled in one way doesn't mean that they can't do something in another way. So we're committed to doing that. And then we've committed, as I said, to being able to resolve these issues within a 3-year period, purely because we're starting from scratch almost with most public spaces and government buildings. So we hear you, we see you, and we definitely feel you. Okay? Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Mr. Brandt, what's your name?
Good night, everyone. Prime Minister, I know got a new name now, community leader. But
give your name and address because you won't be exempt.
Winston Branch, Mesa Hall Street. I come here to ask if it's possible that now, being a community leader, if I could adopt a community, right? Because, like, a lot of work got to be done. And as the lady was saying, the community centers closed. I mean, the community centers closed, the pastors closed too. So you will find out that the young people now, they may got the communities to go to, not the pastors, so they draw a point the big men, and they end up doing all sorts of things. The gambling, you know, they got the ghetto talk, and then they want to get involved in all the things that going on. So what I'm saying on adopting the community now is that if we could get the lights turned on, especially in the evening now, for a couple of hours, even to at least 8 o'clock. By the time the news done, it's time for the children to go along home.
I can't agree with you more. And if we can make sure that they're not on any block at 6, 7, or 8 o'clock at night, you're with me 100. I want to go further. And I don't see the Minister of Sports here. Is he here? I don't know why he isn't here. But anyhow, suffice it to say, because we're in St. John when we are there in Parish Speak, so he should be in St. Michael. Suffice it to say that I am going to ask the Sports Council to tell me in truth, and I meant to do this long time, but you can't remember everything. How much money one is collecting tokens? You understand?
That's one of the things that I would
and
like to.
instead of collecting the tokens, let me find out how much and let me raise the money elsewhere so that we can get these lights on. And let me tell you why.
Yeah.
When I was Attorney General, I was the body who started the lights all about the country on the playing fields, because I understood that if they're out there running about all night, playing games all night, that more often than not, people too tired to do anything when 11 and 12 o'clock come, even too tired at home, far less out. So I'm saying to you that you're with me. You heard me talk about the schools already, and the community centers, and indeed now the lights. Because to ask a fella to find $30 or $40 or $20 for a month to do lights, or a week, is good, man. And really and truly, government's role, good Lord, I can find money elsewhere. They got other people who should be paying taxes. But ease off the people in the communities and let me get these lights going. Okay? And let these youngsters and get the community groups, the sporting groups, the cultural groups, let Barbados be a buzz. You remember you used to have a landscaping competition every Independence?
Yes.
For which community got the best parks or gardens? I want that back
All
again.
these things missing, yes.
I want that back again. Huh? Well, you have it every year and you keep it as a secret. You keep it as a secret. Because if you don't know, with all due respect, Skipper, it could only be a secret. It could only be a secret. Apply your hearts to wisdom. If people don't know sufficiently about it, then it is not happening. It needs to be in everybody's face, day in and day out. Okay? So that we have a sense of pride. And I say to you here that the same way we have the Prime Minister's Cup, I would like at Independence Morning to give out a prize to the best community that has been adjudged not by us, but by the people of Barbados. Every year we get now what, the People's Monarch? But I would like the People's Garden or the People's Park. Not true? Who in here support that? Yeah. What can't hear?
Yeah. Ma'am, along with these things, we got a lot of broken homes in the cities too, right? And all hours of the night, you see children walking the street, begging, and all kind of things. So this is one of the things where we like to adopt the communities now, where we can ask for donations and help with the aspect of these kind of things, especially for lunch money for children, help buy clothes, shoes, and all these things to get the children off of the roads.
Yeah, but I think, Einstein, on those things, I want you to work with the welfare department and others, and the philanthropic sector, because we need to make sure that we don't want people to be embarrassed. You understand? We're going to do things quietly. Yeah. So I ask you to meet with Kirk, and also Kirk, bring Colin Jordan to the meeting as well, who deals with the third sector, and obviously Corey. And the three of you all meet. Charles also needs to be there, his officers, and we find a way of dealing with those vulnerable families, because remember, Kirk has already started that process. Yeah. So we got to make sure we're not duplicating, but at the same time, where there are gaping holes, we got to go in and fix them. And that's why I said that I really want families in Barbados. If you don't listen to nothing else I say, just remember this, please. Each one reach one. If we don't have that spirit, we're going to pay the price. Each one reach one. And the whole idea behind the One Family program is that if I go into the supermarket and I can buy a chicken or a few sanitary things for the girls that know thinking or whatever, let me do it, but let me have the family. But when I go and put that money in or that food in a food bank, they don't know who it's going to, yeah, or who sent it to. What I want is not only the donation, but it is the personal relationship between families. Family adopt a family. Because when you go to the house and you realize that there's another issue going on, what are you going to do? 70-80% of the time, the person going there can try and help solve the problem. And it may be calling somebody. It may be getting a pair of football boots for the child that got real talent, but don't have no boots. It may be finding somebody, they got a disabled aunt who live in the house, who at the hospital and nobody helping her. You don't know what it is. But unless we start to create linkages and connections between people in this country, intergenerational, inter-class, inter-race, into everything, if we don't create relationships in this country, I don't know who's going to walk on water to get away. But we're going to all pay the price. And all I'm asking for is for a different Barbados. And you say that I went to the Pope gave me last week all of his books again. And the truth is that when you read the things that he has put out, all of them relate back to things that we know. When I say many hands make light work, when I say about the golden rule, all of those things matter. And we used to do it. The place I first learned about Sherpot mentality was from where? Chapman Lane. And I'm saying to Bajans that we've gotten into this selfishness that has been driven predominantly by activities that are insular or that interphone. When in truth and in fact, you can't, when you need help really, it's people that you're going to need to support you. You might learn something fake or real on this. That's the truth. But when you need real help, I come in so. And you're holding hands together and you're moving together as one. And that is the solidarity. We'd say unity is strength. And what I'm not feeling is the unity in communities that allow the communities to build up. And you didn't now become a community leader. So, I mean, let me get real. There are a lot more community leaders across this country, and we need people to step up to the plate. But right now, it is just easy for everybody to go into their own space and retreat to their own home and don't realize that if you give 3 hours a week or 2 4 hours a week to something, what are you doing? You're making a difference to the lives of other people. And that's what I want. And that's why Operation Give Back, okay? And we need an audit of it. Have no problem in paying school fees for people at post-secondary level. Institute of Technology, Community College, Erdeston, UWI, I pay. But you got to give back some hours. Because, and I've asked now formally in January, for the Ministry of Education to prepare bills, and this is not the first time I've done it, but I need them to do it this time, before they come to estimates, to prepare bills, and I've asked the hospital to do it as well, because Bajans must know what is being spent, what is the value of what they're receiving in terms of services. And you will get the bill, and the bill will have 0 at it, because the bill will be paid by who? The government of Barbados. But you must know how much it costs for your child or grandchild to go to Westbury, or to go to St. Leonard's, or to go anywhere they're going to school at the community college. You have to know, because if you don't know the value of it, you're not going to recognize or appreciate what is being done in your name. Similarly, at the hospital, whether it is B ward, C ward, A ward, everybody must have a bill. The balance, if you are not to pay, 0. You with me? Yeah. But if we don't start doing it, I don't think we're going to change the mindset. People must know. And you can't get it in a lot of other countries. If you left out here and go to another island in the region, or to even the States, you know, in the US, you don't get, you saw that Walsh was boasting, Kamala's vice president candidate, was boasting that he gave out school meals now in Minnesota. How long were they getting school meals in Barbados?
In the 60s.
Mr. Barr introduced that back in the early 60s, 62 or 63 or somewhere around there. Tom Adams introduced unemployment benefit. U.S. didn't know about that either. Only now they're learning these things. So we take things for granted. But I need now, because we have, and only tonight as I was driving in here, the president of the European Central Bank in a statement today said that if the European countries don't start to grow, that the welfare state will become a thing of the past. The welfare state is what all of us have subscribed to for the last 60, 70 years. You understand? So that if that goes, then it becomes what? The fittest of the fittest, which is the streets.
Right, streets.
You understand? Can't work. So that we have to defy what is going on, and we can do it not because we have all the money in the world. We have enough. But what we must have is what? Heart. And what the Pope and I discussed at length last week was that it isn't only about training the mind, it's about the heart and the hands. That it's not only the knowledge up here in your mind, but do people care? Heart, empathy and sympathy. And will people act and follow through on what they said? Will you do what you say you will do? Will you do what is required of you? Action, hands. And I feel that this country is small enough to show that we can live differently. But what is required? Now, we have this symposium on Friday and Saturday this week, criminal justice symposium with the heads of government of CARICOM. Because we may be going through a difficult moment, but the truth is we're still at the bottom of the totem pole. You understand? All the others are facing far more serious consequences. But if we don't course correct, we're going to end up where? The same place as them. So I am saying through you to the country, Barbados has it within its grasp. Bajans have it within our power to be able to make this country different from the rest. There is no reason for a theater of war. There is no reason for a theater of violence and conflict. And all of us, ALL, all of us have to reach out to other families, each one, reach one, each one, teach one, each one, and we're starting here and taking full personal responsibility for the schools and the community centers and the lights. Why? Because having said it, people feel that you're just wasting oxygen. Well, I'm not wasting oxygen. And there will be a zero tolerance policy with respect to this. Because I fought this battle as a young minister of education, and we won it. And then it reverted because everybody wants controlled territory. But the only territory we can control is together as Bajans called Barbados, which means that under certain rules, we will make things accessible. If you're going to come and vandalize the place, we're going to hold you accountable. Straight talk. But the public spaces paid for by the taxpayers must be used to help elevate. And if we can do that and keep the kids off the block 7 and 8 and 9 o'clock at night, no 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old, even 16-year-old ain't got no right on no block at 8, 9, 10 o'clock, far less later. Period.
I'm saying that no. Saying that no, what I would like to speak about though is sending home children from school at 15 and 16 years old without any accreditation or any practical skills. When you send them out here without those things, when you send them to go, right? These are things that we have to deal with. Because when you send them home at these times, when the young and the impressionable, there's only one place for them to go. And if the company blocks and they don't meet good leaders, people understanding and passion and compassion for people, it's obvious that they get to the stage that there is no cause. If you see who committing all the majority of the crimes, you will see that it's the young men. Because what happened is...
Although I must tell you, Easton, I've been around long enough to know that it was always the young men. Yeah. So let us not fool ourselves. It's just that the types of crime that they're committing now, because of the weaponry available, is far worse than them. So it's not so much the age, but it is the types of crime given the weaponry that's available. So I'm with you 100%. And in fact...
But still I feel they should be in a controlled environment to at least 18 years old where they can learn skills. Right now, as you know, I into construction. And for me to find a good laborer, good carpenter, good mason, good electrician is very hard. And you know who coming to fill their spaces? The Guyanese, Trinidadians,
Guyanese ain't coming tomorrow.
Jamaicans.
Money
Hold on a
down there.
minute. When I tell them, when I tell them, who you is, he say he's a carpenter. We give carpenter work to do. You see that he ain't a carpenter, he's a carpenter friend. You understand what I mean? So that's why we want people to know and teach them in their areas.
So let me tell you three things. And this is, I want to remind you, in this same hall last year, I spoke about Construction Gateway. Go back and check. You understand? And I spoke about it because the government 2 years ago recognized that we would have a shortage of skills in the construction sector. The sector, the Gateway program to train people is still there, but we have a number of people who will not come forward and take the training. Straight talk. And we need families to really talk to the children, because if you're not earning the money legally and you're flashing and spending money, what I mean? You get it from somewhere. And that's why I spoke about this earlier this year already. Secondly, as it relates to sending home children in the middle of the school year because they reach 16 years old, cannot work. And I've said that to the Minister of Education, the Chief Education Officer, and in fairness, this came up after the initial discussions with the council on which you are now serving, because you cannot send home people and expect that all of a sudden, as you say, that they're going to find something useful to do when you just put them out of the school without skills. Can't work. So that I have said, look, if the children are given trouble, we're going to find a way to deal with that. But they must put on the school uniform and report to school every morning, even if we send a bus for them and bring them to the Youth Advance Corps or the Barbados Defense Force and train them for 5 hours and then send them back to the school after. But what I will not agree to is that they just be allowed to stay home and do nothing or get themselves. The devil finds work for who?
I know.
Right. Can't work. So we're on the same page, my brother.
Right. Now with the rain falling in the city, I see the city still flooding a lot. City still full of a lot of dilapidated buildings that need knocking down somewhat, sprucing up. You know, these are things that I would like to get into seeing my work. You know, we like to.
You and others will benefit.
Minister.
You and others will benefit because I just basically signed off with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Environment. Environmental Protection Department put in a program which they wanted to execute over 3-4 years. And I said, no way, it got to be done within 1 year because Barbados got too much derelict cars and too much derelict buildings. And therefore, over the course of the next few months, you're going to see us ramp up. They're going to go back out. They have a number of people who they say have tendered already. But the truth is that there will be more than enough work for everybody because there will also be fixed price contracts that the ministry will set as opposed to being open to people tendering all kinds of numbers that don't make no sense. Okay? Right. So there'll be more than enough work. People need to register and be able to say, look, I can take down these buildings or I can move these cars. The ministry will obviously assess whether you can or not, or you're just making mock sport. And so long as that is in place, then we will be able to ensure that there's fairness in the distribution of the work. Okay?
Yeah.
Please.
So just to touch on your point about the flooding, this is a big issue for me as well. But the reality, at some point in time, we as Barbadians need to take responsibility for what it is that we do as well. I was in Tweedside Road on Friday morning last week, and they were cleaning the drains out Tweedside Road. When the men lift off the grates, the bottles and plastic was compacted inside those drains. No water could go down those drains because the amount of bottles and plastic. Mm-hmm. And you look up the drain, it's like a wall inside there, like cement. If we don't dispose of our waste properly, if we don't dispose of our garbage, if we don't dispose of our plastic. Probably we can keep getting the problems with flooding. If you go down by the pump house, right, anytime it rains, you look in there, when it flooding in Murphy's Pasture and thing, is bottles blocking it up, plastic blocking it up.
I see the drains getting cleaned too, but one of the things with cleaning the drains is that the men that cleaning the drains throwing the stuff alongside the road and nobody in there to pick it up. It's supposed to, you should go to God trucks to move it at the same time. That's one of the things that we was talking about too.
No problem.
I'm told that there are 23 other people behind you.
All right,
So
thanks.
I think that you will have a chance, but we get the drift, and I want to urge you and others, each one, reach one. And we will work with all worthwhile community projects to the extent that we have funds available. And we do have some, but we'll work with community projects, but people have to be accountable for what they say they will do. Do what you say you will do, in the time that you say you will do it, and we work together. So long it is legal.
All right.
Once it's legal, we good. If it is illegal, you're coming to the wrong body. You need the police. Yes, who's next?
Good night. Good night. To the head table and St. Michael's. My name is Michael Grant, Fairfield, Mary Road, Black Rock, St. Michael's. I'm here again to ask a question about Fairfield Cross Road, Gaskin Road, through the bridge. I want to hear from the Minister of Transport and Works if she have those roads on the agenda, her agenda. Because the last time I spoke here, she gave me the undertaking that she's gonna look in to the road, Fairfield Cross Road, it really bad. And she told me that she know Fairfield Cross Road. I would know that she would know Fairfield Cross Road because she raised up in Brantons. So she would know Fairfield Cross Road. So I want you to find out from you if those roads on your agenda.
Yes, sir, they most definitely are. And I just want to say that every Parish Speaks that we have, the views of persons contributing and indicating roads that are of concern are fed into my meetings. And what we do is we try to get the roads designed, or we try to get the assessments done so that we know where we can place them in terms of priority.
But I want you to remind Michael too. Michael, Michael West Central has received a lot of roads in recent times. You understand? So I'm going to be very fair. And I got some other areas like St. Thomas, you understand? And St. Peter, and St. George, and Christchurch, that crying. So the problem is that when roads were not done for the better part of 10 years, that you have a barrel of roads to take care of. So I ask you to hold your peace and to let us get there, but we will eventually get to most of them. This rain is not making it easy. I am fooling you. So that roads that we did already, in some instances, have been impacted. Okay?
Madam Prime Minister, the Minister of Transport and Works said to me just now that the roads on the agenda.
A lot of others are on the agenda too, so I'm talking with you straight.
And
so she will
Fairfield
get,
Cross Road is very bad.
she will get to some of them, but I want it to.
I work in the community for
Michael,
53
I know
years.
when you come back here from Connecticut, so I know that
Okay.
you just come back and that you helping to work out.
I will call
you
on-
understand? Because the rest in here don't know that you and me start together 36 years ago. So I will let the others know that.
Madam Prime
anyhow.
Minister,
Don't
I'm
tell
glad
anybody.
that you say that to me.
It's true.
Because I was saying today that you delete me from your history.
Well, hold on.
Huh?
You want me to speak to you on the 1st of December?
The 1st of December?
Okay, we'll talk on the 1st of December. Next person.
No, I would like to find out from
You know otherwise.
my hard-working MP if he have anything to say about any more roads in his constituency. Now, I'm going to want to suggest to the Minister of Sports that I would like Belfield facility in Black Rock to name after the late Seymour Nurse and Varman Holder. Those two men live in that area. I play cricket with those men. They represent the West Indies, and I would like,
I hear you.
if
Can I advise you what to do? We've agreed now a new mechanism for the naming of public facilities rather than it just being a cabinet or ad hoc. And I'd like you to write the National Honors Committee. They're the committee now that is reviewing the naming of all public facilities. I myself would support you as a St. Michael girl with that. But there's a process. So if you write them, and I'm sure that you will get others to sign with you, and let us get ahead with good work.
okay, that sounds feasible, but I'm concerned about the Belfield facility. You know, I'm the person that really caused Belfield facility to be there. In 1982, thanks to my friend, Brady, who worked with Vic Johnson, and that day, when the man at Belfield was saying to me, man, look, get up my way, you can't get in the pavilion. I said, I can show you. And I spoke to Vic Johnson every morning at 6:30. That was the day when MPs did listen to you. And I make him miserable.
Oh, so you feel that MPs don't listen to you anymore?
No.
Uh-uh.
What I am saying,
Michael?
I am speaking.
I know you well enough, Paula.
I don't know. I went away too long, and I don't know.
With all due respect, I know you are not a man who believes in useless activity. And since you don't believe in useless activity, you would not be here making that point for getting the thing named or for the other things done because you expect the MPs to do it. So I know that that was just a throwaway comment with you slashing outside the off stump. But you know what's happened when you slash outside the off stump? You get caught in the slips, my brother.
I'm a batsman. I bat very careful.
You never get caught in the slips? I can get in Belfield and find out about you.
Very careful. Huh? Very careful. So, Bradshaw, Vic spoke to Bradshaw, and in a couple months, that was breaking ground at Belfield, Brady. So I hope that I get what I need in St. Williams West Central. You told me that, and I believe in you, right? So, congratulations to the government and the Prime Minister for a good job well done. You have a lot of hard-working ministers in your cabinet. So, you make me happy.
And you know you're not deleted. Thank you.
Thank
you, Mr. For all who don't know, when I came to public life, I met a few people. One of blessed memory, and I wish she was still here. Vivian Goodman. This gentleman there obviously didn't feel that he should belong to St. Michael West Central and became a member of St. Michael Northeast. He followed me all over until he went overseas and left me high and dry. But I'm glad that you're back with us. Thank you. And it's a good thing to see.
You know, I'm the man that first called you to run in St. Margaret's Northeast.
You were one
you
of
know,
them.
I am demand
You were one
that
of
you
them.
come to Fairfield, you come to Fairfield Main Road and come and knock at my bedroom window. I don't know how you know that I sleep in the back bedroom. And me and Vivian went with you that evening to canvas. I was surprised.
To Betty Carrington and
I was really surprised.
And a few others who I wish were still with us.
We went too long gap.
But the message I hear to everybody is that I had to go and fight a nomination. And it didn't bother me. And I fought the nomination. It's true that there were others in the nomination too. Tyrone Barker, Leroy Sistnet, and Ralph Thorne. And I won the nomination. But these things happened. And the nomination is still the fairest process by which people are elected to serve in
But
politics.
you remember that I told you that same very evening.
I got 23 other people, Michael.
Okay,
Go on.
you know-
We're going to have the talk after.
You know, I tell you the same very evening that you're going to be Prime Minister of Barbados.
You must have had a crystal ball that I didn't have. Go long. Thank you. Next person. Good to see you, though. I ask people to be a little more crisp. When we started the process, we only had about 10 or 15, but we have mushroomed significantly, and I'd like people to stick to the process, stick to the thing, and go through. I've got to go and take some medication. I am fooling you. Just after 10, and I'm already feeling it. So, Santa, I hope I can rally out the night with you. If not, you will close. Thank you. Let's go, sir.
Before you start, would the other persons who are number 13 through 23, 14 through 23, would you take the middle seats, please, so that we can keep track of who is coming? If you're not down to speak, you shouldn't be in these seats. And you do have numbers, so it doesn't matter if you run up ahead. You're still going by the numbers. Thank you very much.
Good night, Madam Prime Minister and head table. Good night to Mr. Minister. Good in Edgell, West Central. Good to see you. Let me take this opportunity to thank you for your involvement in terms of giving us some light across the constituency. It's a marked difference over time. I would like a little extra help in terms of, sorry, my name is Edwin Adams. Sorry, Weaver Avenue, Black Rock. There are some roads that we need some help with, especially from the Fairfield end, probably across the Clevedale. If you come down from 3rd Avenue, Grisettes, or 2nd Avenue, that road has been horrendous for a long time. Nevertheless, that's not my main point. I just thought I would mention that since I see you here, and I always thought that I should thank you for. I remember it had been a long time we're trying to get lights in the particular way of Avenue area in particular, and they only came since you come. So many thanks to you. I am a security guard by profession. I'm going to say that again. I'm a security guard by profession, and I want it to be known that for me, it is all that I have known most of my life of 33 years. Right, boss. The next year, December, we made this piece of legislation, 372E, of the private investigators and security guards at least 40 years old on the books of Barbados. And I think, Madam PM, that it needs some repeal,
Reconstruction and
change.
reconstruction. No problem.
Exactly. And I would like to see us move to a stage where that the private security guard industry is treated as a profession and not as a fly-by-night, as it seems to be now across the Barbadian landscape. Too many persons or entities are setting up. You just go to ministry and pay $500 or $1,000 and you're good to go in terms of this very little regulation and such like. I made a point sometime back that there are more security guards than there are members of the police service. And I'm thinking that if they are across the landscape of Barbados, we should have as little problems with crime or intelligence as possible. So it tells me that we are not incorporating them enough. We have moved away from the parish constables that we used to have, or island constables, they were known. And the interesting that the Island Constable Act is chapter 166, and the police is 167, and that in itself says a lot. So I think that we need to, I would like to know that we can revitalize the Island Constable Associations of Barbados and or reestablish them or set out a new term that shows that there are.
I hear you completely, Mr. Adams, and I want to say to you that I'd like to invite you to send me a 1 or 2 pager on some of the things that you believe ought to be reviewed. The Honorable Attorney General is not here, but I believe that there is merit in some of what you have said with respect to cooperation with the police, but that can only effectively happen properly if there is proper regulation and training of the guards that we have. So I'd like to invite you, not trying to cut you short, but I'd like to invite you to submit that, and suffice it to say that it is a point that resonates with me greatly.
Thanks, Simon Devers.
Thank you, my brother. You may want to send it to me and to my PS as well in the Prime Minister's office, and we will then pass it on to the National Security Council for the AG and others. That's fair? Thank you. Who's next?
My name is Mike, whatever. Seeley. How now?
Mike hiding behind the mic.
Good night, everybody. Again.
Good to see you, my brother.
How you doing? All the fellas, all sent here. All over. Okay. My grouse is just a little, I'm not going to elongate my oh, where you come from? Brown, just Becker's Road in Bayland. And I've heard this speech, this grouse being repeated so many times. So I don't want to stretch it out.
No problem. Hold it, Mike. We're not hearing you properly, right?
Yeah, right. So let me first say that coming down from Britain's Hill, and this is where Humphreys. Okay, yeah. We have a downpour rain coming right into Currents Avenue, and there is a gully there that leads right down to the sea. And yes, and the water backs up there, and a lot of rubbish there. Anyway, and so I would like you to send something there so we can ease that flow and keep that water flowing.
Yeah, I'm going to ask that Kirk and Santia just look at it. Okay.
Yeah, Kirk is reminding me that drainage went to look at it recently. And obviously, I don't think over the years it was as bad as it is now. As PM said earlier, the intensity of the rain is causing us to recognize places that didn't flood like this before. So drainage will look at it and then make a determination in terms of the assessment as to what to do.
Is it also an area where people are dumping?
Yes.
Or polluting?
People
so
usually,
Wilfred's point is the
I
same thing, that people need to stop throwing things in these areas in truth, because it's their own houses that can be flooded out in the end.
Yeah, because I want you to put a sign there not to dump anything. Passerbys just throw the garbage there and move on, and that's not fair to us who live right there. So we would like to fix up that. And this one that
what we may have to do is to put some cameras out there too to catch who dumping.
I think so.
Yeah. Adrian gone. Thanks. Minister Ford,
yes.
Make a note for me, please.
Terrible right there. And well, we have the tree there. I'll let you to trim the tree because it has become a place for roosters to live in. I can't catch them so I can get some eggs or something like it from the tree. But, yeah, some eggs right from the tree. From fowls live in the tree there now. It's so overgrown. And that's problem I have. They have been asking this question for a long time. On coming through Clorin and Browns Avenue, we have an indiscriminate traffic coming through there. Minibuses detour there, cars, people on motorbikes driving crazy, and all such things, you know. And when we step up from our homes, we step right into the road, and you can be taken at any time. I mean,
that's the same thing we've been talking about all night, man.
Exactly.
And we really then, Santi, have to look at some humps, because the humps will slow down those who feel that they're going through these back roads to get speed. You understand? And I really am fearing for either elderly people or young children walking with all of this activity. Please.
Yeah. Mac, right? Because I think it's not fair. Our children running from house from next door, elderly people coming out on the street, just stepping off into somebody's, you know, making a mess coming on the road.
We have you, sir. Got you, man. Okay? I will want to see, because a lot of these sleeping policemen can be put down by the depots.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I think Maxie has.
Good night, panel. I was thinking how this.
Hold up the mic. Hold up the mic. I don't want you to get stoop back.
I had a suggestion. Okay, the humps are taking a little while. So I was saying in the meantime, what we can do, or my suggestion is, the neighbors out there, the neighbors out there, they are willing, when these ZRs come through there at the speed, they are willing to, say, take a picture, do a video. With the video, I can set up the location services. So if you take the picture,
the cameras will work.
Huh?
The cameras.
Right. For I mean, if they take either the what's called now, the house cameras or that cam.
No, I'm not talking about house cameras. I don't want nobody to get in trouble. I'm talking about the government putting up on highways that belong to the public space or roads that are public roads, putting up the cameras. If you know you're going to get caught and you're prepared to pay a fine each time, fine. Okay? But the bottom line is that the government needs to ensure that people are safe. And as a matter of public safety, we got to deal with it. So we will use both the sleeping policemen as well as the cameras. Okay? And we all know the roads where people use to beat the traffic. You know, we all know them.
Pass it through me because they're looking for a shortcut. But what I think about that they speed.
Is the speed. That's the point.
You know?
And that's the point. And that's why I say if you have the sleeping policemen, you know that. But we also need some PSAs reminding people about speeding through communities and find a catchy way of being able to capture their attention. Because afterwards, when that same person loses their license forever and they can't do nothing else, and they end up going to prison for motor manslaughter, and spending 7 or 10 years because somebody dead, then you're going to hear everybody crying and banging the belly. Let's save people from themselves, please.
Exactly, please. And one more point, Mark, you done? Yeah.
One more thing. What if a person, say ZR comes through a neighborhood and a person takes a picture, is there really can send it to, say, a transport authority with the, with the metadata, with the location and stuff like that? Is that possible?
Yeah, you can send the information to Transport Authority. Even though the Transport Authority receives that information, they would call obviously if they have the license number, they would contact the owner of the vehicle, have a conversation with them, warn the Transport Authority, warn the owner as well as the driver, and take the necessary steps, obviously, if there's a repeat of the offense.
And there be feedback to the person who submitted the information?
Well, I believe Transport Authority, once that person has submitted the information in terms of the contact information, they would be responded to. A lot of times people tend not to do it. Usually we find out about things because it's circulating on social media, which is fine, but equally, it would help if sometimes we have a little bit more information that we could actually put people on the ground to see when people are committing these acts in the communities.
Okay. Well, I know the persons in Bronx Avenue, the person that live there for sure. They just want to know what avenue in the meantime until the cameras or whatever other the silent police, they just want to know. So I'll
rest assured we're going to deal with it, my brother. All right? Thank you.
Before you go, The same St. Michael South persons told me when they come here, make sure that I say thank you to Mr. Humphrey for going out there some Saturdays and
we
stuff
hear
like
you.
that.
Thank you.
And
We know you and we hear you. Thank you.
One little, I don't want to, I want to expedite the thing. One little thing PM, want to say, because I thought it was a high profile meeting, see, so I didn't expect that. I was just coming to see Humphrey and give him some lashes, but now I see all the dignitaries, so,
I thought you were coming to play some music for me to keep my head quiet today.
No, another
Ladies
night.
and gentlemen, do you know that this is one of the greatest Caribbean guitarists ever, Mike Seeley?
Thank you for it.
Not Bajan, you heard what I said? Caribbean.
Caribbean.
You understand? In fact, I would venture to suggest that along with my friend from Jamaica, what's his name now again? Ernie Wranglin.
Ernie Wranglin, yes.
That Ernie Wranglin and Mike Seeley are photo finish
All right.
for being the best jazz guitarists, in my view, in the Caribbean. Thank you.
We share the same stage. Yes. One little bit before I go. As I said, I wasn't expecting this much, but hearing who was it? Corey, right, and the youth, right? This was something that I was running through my mind all the while. Fraternity youth. I used to do prison ministry, right? Prison ministry, and go up there was a happy moment. The prisoners I will play a little music and they dance, but then we get into the nitty gritty. But something I know that is missing, and we all were young at some time, and we forget, we see the youth, and forget that we were young as well, right? And I am one of 7 boys, and I was raised without a father from the age I was 7. And what the neighbors used to say to my mom, you cannot raise those children. We are going to see them go to jail. They're going to go to jail. I was raised in the park, King George Park. I was born in King George Park. And when Daddy died, she moved to the village. But she had this thing about her. No man is to point their finger in your faces. 7 boys, this woman raised with cows and sheep and all kind of things. And she was working at this hospital. And what I find, she said, yes, I'm going to feed, clothe, and educate you all. Feed, that's your mother. Feed, clothe, and educate. The thing is that even today's youth, I don't find that they're that far-fetched, that they can't be controlled. Yes, it is just the parenting and the irresponsibility of the parents. And I think that we should put something in place for them. Now, this is not the place where I can expound, but there's something that a little thing I would like to do. I'm to do you a proposal.
Please, Mike, I will take it from you with respect.
Right.
And the Arts and Sports Promotion Fund, we can look and see how you can work to help. If the youngsters in Barbados get a 10th of your talent, we will be well placed.
Yes.
I don't think people understand when I tell you that this man is a genius. And if you were in the U.S., people would be calling you George Benson and other kind of things, would be calling you when the day comes.
But I couldn't do that because Uncle Molly and Uncle Elton say, Mike, we need you here.
Exactly.
My purpose, my reason here is just because of being patriotic.
Yep.
And I stood here for all the years because
It's a fact.
I don't want to be, I wanted to go, everything was
But
there.
people like you and Linus Yaw,
You understand? I just had to stay around and stay at home. So I'm poor. I'm poor for it, but I'm okay because I'm happy that I stood home and I was able to watch the festival grow. That is okay, right? But I want to do this for the youth. So Corey, let me have a little talk with you and whosoever your thing is, and we can work on a little something, because there is a point that the kids need to know, and I understand them. They're just not lawless. They don't understand who they are. So it's to find their purpose. So give me a little chance, a little piece of the action, and that'd be good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Who's next?
Hi, good night. Good night, Madam Prime Minister. Good night to the ministers. My name is Jabari Wickham, 4th Avenue, Puerto Ricans, now by Hall St. Michael. I got a couple of problems. Yes, please. My first problem is the two, yes, 4 or 5 no Turkins, not by hall. It's a cul-de-sac. So, as you know, it's one way out. There are 3 open spots that got bush that coming cross to the road. You know it's a mechanic. You know it's a mechanic gap as well. So that means that they got cars on one side of the road. So basically every day, I either go drop in a hole, scratch at the vehicle to get from inside the gap or outside the gap. The cars harboring all types of rats. And got cars there that they know this 2 years and a half. You understand? That's one of my main problems.
Cars on 4th Avenue, Paterkin, or
4th
another road?
Avenue, Paterkin.
The cars on that same road.
Yeah, in the cul-de-sac gap.
You run a mechanic shop?
No, I don't run a mechanic. I live
Okay.
through the gap.
You live through the gap?
Yes, I need the
just-
old
just
cars
wanna make sure.
gone.
But it's the same problem. You all realize that everybody complain about the same thing. And that's exactly why I sign off on the program. And what EPD wanted me to do is to do it over a 4 to 6 year period. And I said, no way. We're going to do this all in 1 year. But at the same time, we're going to need, you can't tell people shut down the businesses without giving them somewhere to go. And what we're trying to do is to find locations, and we may well have to find some central locations before we finish building all of the bays, because it takes time to build bays and it takes money to build bays. But the problems that close communities are finding across St. Michael are dread. And it's happened all over the country, but St. Michael is worse, Christchurch is worse, St. James is worse because of the tight nature of the communities in terms of how to get in and out. Okay? So I hear you one time, Star.
Then my other problems are the license, like the license is when it comes to like vendor's license and that type of stuff. This is 4 years that I applied to NCC about a vendor's license. Mr. Holder even did the testimony for me. I got back
For this for vendor's license for
on the
where?
beach.
Okay, it may well be because the limits, but we will
Well,
investigate
well,
it.
well,
But as
for-
I said, we're
well-
not dealing with individual complaints out here. So the individual thing, you go to Mr. Morris on that, and we'll investigate it for you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Come, Star. Don't left. I want you to go and find these separately. All right, right there, in the red. Who's next? Come.
Good night,
Yes,
Madam
ma'am.
Prime Minister, and to the head table. I have a few issues. One, my name is
Name?
Keisha Hall.
Thank you.
I live in Lakewish Village, Mylar Hill, St. Michael. One is access to running water to residents in Lakewish Village in Thompson Land. It is hard. The standpipes are very far. So I'm trying to figure out what is happening there.
As you know, we're doing a major project, and I think Mr. Prescott knows it well, and I know that therefore if he knows it, you know it, that we are doing the major project that will allow, for the first time, us to be able to solve the problems up in there with lack of access to water. And this goes back to 1999 as Trevor. No, Trevor, you weren't there in 99. I was. In 1999 when I was there, and we therefore got the agreement to be able to start. Regrettably, all kinds of studies had to be done. The studies have been completed. Alex, you want to update where we are, or who or you're going to update which one? Which one of you? Because if I speak, you can feel like I'm telling Keisha for the sake of telling Keisha, or Trevor for the sake of telling Trevor, come.
Right now, Alex Seifel, Barbados Water Authority. Alex Seifel, Barbados Water Authority. Right now, there are the contracts to do the soaring of parts of Lakewish Village, the Bell and the Bellevue. So those plans are pretty advanced, and the designs for the soaring has been done. So eventually that area will be sewered, and also pipe water will be installed in those areas. So basically, that is almost a done deal.
And let's
now.
go a little further, because I insisted as your line minister that rather than this be given to large companies, that the people who bore the brunt of the adjustment be what?
Will be used
Be
in
the beneficiaries of it. Not true?
construction.
So finish telling them for me, because when I say it, they may feel that I talking for the sake of talking
Yes.
too.
So that basically, instead of giving out to some large contractors, you will, as far as possible, include all the people in the area that this work will be in the area. So that money will be flowing into the area, and people from the area will benefit from the installation of the sewers and the water mains.
And let's go further, even though it's not St. Michael. You've mentioned Bellevue, Licorice Village, but we also, at Bailey's Alley in St. George, we are putting in a pond, correct?
No, we've gone past that. We're putting in the air system.
The aerated system,
that
which
is
will
more
then, the water then flows into a pond.
Right, which is very
Right.
fancy. They wouldn't got the smelly ponds as such anymore.
Right, but
it was being a house that looked like an ordinary house.
yeah. So that will be different from Bellevue, and Licorice Village. And those three will then go down to Bridgetown.
Right. No, Licorice Village and Bellevue will go to Bridgetown.
So, Keisha, you understand? You can't wiggle the nose and it happened, because the designs had to be done, the engineering designs, the construction plans, and because I've chosen for us not to go to big contractors, it means that it takes a little longer to be able to put the systems in place in order to facilitate those who have suffered the burden to be able to benefit from the opportunity. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, my dear.
All right. Where road patching is concerned, they're only patching the road across by the landscape when you turn into Licorice Village. You're not coming down on the inside, and it's horrible on the inside.
Agreed. I will make sure Santi go down inside, pass by where the landscape headquarters is, and go right inside. In fact, Keisha can carry you and show you. Okay?
And another thing I want to speak about, I have spoken to the minister.
Mr. Prescott, you will go with Keisha and the MP on the patching that's to be done, correct?
So I have spoken to the Minister of Sports about persons going on national duty. We're still having that problem. We have footballers that can't get to gel together because they're not getting the time home from work, and it's happening in the public sector and the private sector. So then management has to find a way right to ask that the guys work morning shift only and work up to 12 o'clock. Now when we do that, and we have a problem letting go people for national duty, we can't win anything. And I find it to be really, really unfair to these guys.
We'll review. The truth is that I don't like speaking in a vacuum, because I don't know whether the job the person is carrying out is an essential service. And if it is, it may well be that they deserve to be in somewhere else if the time can't be had. So what I would suggest is that if you have specific examples, speak to Roy, and let us see if we can deal with one each on merit. Is that fair?
Okay, yes,
Thank
please.
you.
And my final point is school meals. I find that school meals is coming very late, sometimes 2 days in the week, sometimes 3 days in the week. And then when you look, it's bread lunch. You got 3-year-olds going to nursery schools, and school meals came as late as 18 minutes to 2. So I'm asking that the minister look into it, and so that we can feed these children
no
at
problem.
a reasonable time, because then the
I
teachers,
will ask for a report on
right,
it.
the teachers are
Minister.
losing teaching time in the afternoon when school meals come so
Absolutely.
late.
Absolutely.
Right.
And also, if you can just whisper in her ear the areas that you know about for certain, but I
Right.
will ask for a report, because on 2 counts. One, it cannot be coming late because the children would have left home in some instances since 7 or 7:30. But 2, the nutritional program that the ministry has put in place, there will be times when you may get a sandwich,
Right.
but it shouldn't be every day or 3-4 days a week. And the truth is that I would like to see the children eating more provisions rather than pie or rather than macaroni. And the truth is that the ministry needs to have direct contracts now with the farmers that providing the provisions, and let us train the children. When I was in the ministry, they used to tell me, oh, the children in St. Michael are eating them provisions, only the ones in the country. Well, we need to change it. And we now know that they need to do it for their own health too. Okay? Because there are too many young kids in the teenagers and 20s presenting themselves now with diabetes. That really is as a result of diet. Okay? Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Madam Prime Minister and the other members in the panel. I have a situation where my name is Cambon Aarons, Skeets Road, Bank Hall is where I reside. Cambon Aarons. Yes, please. So I have literally been given an eviction notice from the place where I reside.
Okay.
Because
It's a personal matter, right?
Yes, it's a personal
Thanks.
matter.
Come straight there and let's deal with it. I don't want people embarrassing themselves or exposing themselves with personal issues. Yeah? Who's next? Cheryl?
Good night, Madam Prime Minister, head table, everybody else. Cheryl Hunt, H-U-N-T-E. Flint Hall, St. Michael. Sorry. Put it down. All right. My concern, I have more than one, but my MP is here. I have three of them. 1, 2, 3. Marcia, Speaker, Prescott. Emma, right now I'll start with the wall. There's a wall at Flint Hall. My MP dealt with it before. You know Radnor, where the Blanchetts used to live. There's a solid wall going up, and that wall is falling, bellying, and when it rains, like we just had rain, the rocks, like how it's happening outside your residence at 2 Mile Hill.
Yeah.
I see it happening up
Yeah,
there
yeah.
too. So
And
we
in
need,
fact, where I live, my neighbors had to take down theirs recently because what is happening, a lot of these old walls that may not have steel,
Right.
with the rain that's
Rain now.
coming, is destabilizing all of these old walls that we have across the country. So in both the official residence and the personal residence, I'm seeing it as
right.
well.
I know my MP tried to contact the owners, but nothing has happened, and the residents at Flint Hall are very concerned, and they asked me to talk about
They're
it.
new owners now, so we'll see who they
New
are.
owners.
Yeah.
MP Hall knows who the owners are. A doctor owns it. So that's one. The second thing is Welch's Post Office. Welch's Post Office is cracking. The columns breaking. I mean, pieces will fall off in big chunks. The seniors are very concerned about it as well. I was hearing that there's...
I'll have an engineering assessment done immediately. This is the first time I've learned is cracking.
Yes.
And Minister, could you please have an engineering assessment done? In fact, you can probably get your sister here to get her engineers to come and look at it urgently. But secondly, on Friday evening, if I didn't see 6 cars, including PSVs, come through Welch's Post Office car park
Turn through, yeah.
and cut
Shortcut,
through,
shortcut.
I have asked that the police put crash barriers to stop people from exiting.
Right.
They have to enter, obviously, but when they exit, they need to be exiting the same way that they came
entered.
in, rather than trying now to cut across traffic and block traffic again. So this is the kind of lawless behavior. It is not an exit onto the main road. And I've asked urgently, I have not gone back there today, but I will go tomorrow myself and see whether the crash barriers are there on the way to Parliament. Thank you.
And we need crossings, for especially for the senior people, for everybody, because you have to cross a lot of different crossings at Welch's, Marcia, you know. So we need crossing at Welch's.
Just meet with the others and show them where you need the crossings, and
Marshall
let the
House too.
traffic people. No, I know, but let the traffic people advise too, because they will tell you where the crossings ought to go in order not to create another problem.
Right.
But I hear you completely.
And again, Minister Bradshaw, we also need a sign when vehicles come down the bridge road now, and they stop there, they're turning across. MP, CDs, everybody coming, rather than going around. So we need a no right turn sign. When you come down and you're by George Lamming, people going so. More
Going
people
where?
now than before. Across.
Go across where?
We come down Bridge Road,
Uh-huh.
and we here in the school there.
Uh huh. I'm turning right to go where?
In front of the post office and going through traffic lights. It's happening now more than before.
No,
Yeah.
no. There's something called
Going
the
across
police,
in front
right?
of the Pilgrim Holiness Church.
Okay, no problem.
I see the car dropping the
They had
other
a song.
morning.
You were a good cultural woman like me. They had a song called Tech Warning. You remember that song?
Warning, yeah.
Tech Warning.
And
Who used to sing it again?
you better do good. I don't remember.
Tech
but I
Warning.
remember
You
Tech
better
Warning,
do
yeah.
good. Well, the bad Tech Warning.
Another thing is that there's flooding in that area. When it rains, same post
In
office,
Welch's?
by the post office, on the side to the church. So people doing business at the post office in trouble. Right. I am also concerned, Prime Minister, about the water at the bell, the reverse osmosis. Constituents are asking what is happening. Election is coming up. People showing me the sign. I don't know what to say. Reverse osmosis.
With it, Sandra. I mean,
You
Cheryl.
did? Oh, I
Yeah.
was outside. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Keisha spoke about it?
Keisha spoke about it, and I
Oh,
dealt with
okay.
it, and I explained
Okay.
exactly what's happening,
All right.
and why it's taking the time, and how we're trying to be able to work with the people in the community. And in fact, the reason why I know about Bailey's Alley, among everything else, is that the other three are set, but we had to have a different approach for Bailey's Alley than for Bellevue, and Licorice Village. Okay?
Okay. Thank you so much. That's it. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Prime Minister and other honorable members. I am here, Tyra Trotman. I'm here on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Springer, as well as Mr. and Mrs. Bradshaw of 1st and 3rd Avenue in Dash Gap. This really is
We have one problem, young lady. Where you live?
But I'm delivering the
I
letter.
understand. So give me the letter.
Yes.
And we will have you in audience after. If not, I will have to go and apologize to a number of people for the last 11 months.
Yes.
So
They were elderly, so I wanted to be
I
able
got
to
you.
present it.
I got you. But I see that as like a good advocate.
Yes.
You have reduced it to writing.
No, what happened is I wrote a letter as attorney at law
Well, that's what I
in
mean.
May 2024, and I have not received a response.
Okay, no problem. You come
Right.
to Roy and give it to us,
Thank
and we
you.
can take it from there.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
So I've done my part.
Thank you. Who's next?
Hi, good night. Hi, good night. My name is Roland Harris from Maynard's Land, Savannah Road, Bush Hall, St. Michael, St. Michael Central as well. No, Honorable Holder. I am coming here because I am trying to find out when you all are going to finalize the purchasing of the lots for the tenants in the area. Because for the longest time, this has been in limbo for almost 18 years. And it's a really hard thing. And I heard that you also were looking to try to finalize a lot of them around Barbados. So
Have, because it was on pause, and I think William can speak. I insisted that they start back the program aggressively a few years ago. But as you would know, that there are lots of tenantries all over the country, and what we call the non-plantation tenantries.
Okay.
And I know in this constituency, for example, Dr. Kurzland and a whole bunch down here in my constituency and yours, so they're all over. So William, would you want to speak and say where we are? because we've indicated that there should be money made available for the subsidies as was the original intention of the program.
Yes, just for the benefit of everyone, yes, we started back and we've just applied to start the payments because what has happened, tenants have paid in, but then there's a concomitant payment that government was to make to the landlord to be able to complete the conveyances. So we've sourced some of the funds and we have a list and we're working through that list. There's a long list and we're going through it chronologically to be able to get up to date so that all those tenants will have a benefit. So yes, it is restarted.
What you may want to do, Mr. Harris, is give Dr. Duguid quietly the name of the particular tenantry, because even though you give a location of a road, our experience is that there may be a number of different tenantries on a particular long road as well. Okay? So just let him know.
A couple other things were, is there any other like subsidies made that you can buy certain things like batteries and stuff for solar, and what are they and what is acceptable?
What I can do, I don't know about subsidies. I know there's the Smart Energy Program under the Inter-American Development Bank, but Roy can link you with the ministry and they can tell you. I know that there's subsidies, for example, for businesses with electricity. I don't know if it extends to households off the top of my mind, top of my head. So just speak to Mr. Morris and we can link you with the information so you can have access to it. Okay?
And is there any way to get like water tanks for like certain
water
for
tanks
disability,
through
like
water,
a person that got a disability?
Absolutely.
Because I never know how to go about it. And
Water Authority, just speak to speak to Mr. Morris again, and for those who are disabled, for sure, we will assist. Okay?
Okay.
All right, Alex? Yeah.
And the last question was, is there any provisions for people that are with disabilities that like sidewalks? Because right now I had to walk down here. I actually walked from just Chardin and Bashaw down here, and they had to be trying to dodge traffic because there's no sidewalks to get down even to this area.
Well, remember when I spoke in Parliament recently, I said, and I said it again tonight, that public spaces and government buildings will be treated too, starting with the town centers. I didn't say that tonight, but I said that in Parliament. So Speightstown, Holetown, Bridgetown, Oistins, the Glebe, Six Roads, Horse Hill, Belle Plaine. Okay?
Okay.
When we finish those, then you will come to Greater Bridgetown or the greater areas surrounding Speightstown or Holetown. So we're fanning out. And why? Because we start where there's likely to be the greatest level of traffic and then move out there. But in any event, I think that once we can get the roads done properly going forward, we need to ensure, and I know that MTW has a commitment to build sidewalks where they're building new roads. Invariably, where you don't have it is where we've inherited roads that were built decades ago. Okay, of which St. Michael is one of the worst examples of it. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, good night, everyone. My name is Christian Kendall. That's the first name. Rock is the last name. I am at Christian Kendall. Rock.
Kendahl.
DAHL. DAHL.
Hyphen?
Yeah, Christian Kendall is hyphenated. That's correct. Is the first name.
Okay,
Rock
I
is
got
the
you.
last.
I was doing Kendall Rock. No problem.
The address? Beckles Road, St. Michael. That's where I don't reside, but that's where I'm registered. I don't know which one you want. The address I live at? Or yeah? Where I'm registered? Yeah, Beckles Road, St. Michael. Yeah. Okay. So I'm also asking questions on behalf of the persons from the League of Young Socialists that reside in St. Michael as well. So
Then there's another forum for you to do that.
no problem.
Not this forum.
Okay, but I have some
So
questions.
tell me your
no
questions
problem.
and hold the League of Young Socialists for another forum.
No problem, Prime Minister. So since 2018, the Building Blocks program was launched, and it has become a very important part of our communities and has provided a space for our entrepreneurs. As someone from St. Michael South, can we get an update on the potential area of Jessamy Avenue for this program and any other information that can be shared? Oh, I just asked. Since 2018, the Building Blocks program was launched, and it has become an important part of our communities and has provided a space for our entrepreneurs. As someone from St. Michael South, can we get an update on the potential area of Jessamy Avenue for this program and any information that can be
I
shared?
can't tell you. I imagine that your MP has requested that from his colleague. I'm not sure of the status. Either the MP or the minister capable of responding.
You know, this came to cabinet last week. My colleagues may think I either brought you or Roshana to ask this, and I would wish that we hadn't asked this here, but nonetheless. So the Building Block program, as you know, was it started under Minister Ford. It's a program where we go into certain communities where young people gather organically, and we ask them, what are you interested in, what business, and they tell us, and then we create a facility, physical facility, and other facilities for them to be able to do the business, right? The businesses. And we've seen in the areas where we've done that work, in the Pine, in Bonnets, and in other areas, that it has had tremendous rewards, and we've seen the level of deviance and so on in those areas come down. So it's a very proper project, and it's worthwhile. The one in Jessamine Avenue is different because we were building in an area that is on a slope, so it's going to require some additional work, and it's also right by a drain, so it requires additional work. But it came to cabinet last week, that and other projects, and actually came to cabinet prior, about 2 weeks prior, and the Prime Minister had asked for additional information, and it came last week. And cabinet asked again for some additional information. So I'm hoping that within the next few weeks it would be approved, and that we could actually start the building of the project by later this year or early next year.
Yes, thank you. My second question is relating, and I know this is something that the Prime Minister has spoken about in terms of vending. As we know, vendors are very important to our society. However, there are still several issues as it relates to coconut vendors, and they're still making it unsafe to maneuver on the roads. Just a couple weeks ago, coming across the highway, I had to maneuver around a vendor that was running from one end of the highway to the next end of the highway. I know the government is currently working on layaways to rectify this situation, but the vendors obviously are not using them properly. Can we have better regulations for vending on the highways and byways, and can entities
The regulations are there, the facilities are being built. Santia knows I'm waiting for the one in Warrens. I spoke to Mr. Pandor recently, and I believe he's now going to start to do the designs for out there. We took action at, Newton already, although people started to defy that. And basically, we are going to have to enforce and look, we're trying to save people and save the system, because when you get knocked down, you go where? The hospital. That's a hospital bed that you really did not need to be taken up if people were exercising safety and prudence in terms of how and where they sell. We can live good on this rock, but everybody got to live and live according to the order that is set. Because if not, then we end up hurting each other. Okay, so I hear you, and the government is very much in the process of doing that. The one at Warrens is more ticklish because, as I said, it means literally building a feeder lane, and we've had to speak to the landowners there by the supermarket and also the mall, and we're in the process of having the designs done. So I would hope that once those designs are completed, we can treat to it as an emergency project, because apart from anything else, and I want to speak clearly now, to have people selling not just coconuts on a highway, but fruits, pastas, this, that, all kinds of things now, as if the highway is a mall. When in truth and in fact, all you're going to do is guarantee that the hospital can see a few people and cause more people to be going in there that should not be going in there. Can't work. And you know, the fellas on the block will tell you there's order. But there's got to be order in the country. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, and you would have said earlier, Prime Minister, in terms of bringing solutions. So I'm asking if entities like Export Barbados can collect the shells that are left on the road for free and use them.
I think they're
reuse
already
them or
looking at
refurbish
that.
them?
They're already looking at that. Mr. Hill from
Okay.
Export Barbados is already looking at how we can collect the husk and the various skips. I must tell you this, though, that I feel that we're picking our coconuts too young.
Yes.
You understand? And anybody who drinking coconut water will tell you they ain't got no taste. I went to Samoa for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. I have never tasted coconut water sweeter than I tasted in Samoa. Never. And it used to be, I shouldn't say never recently. Because when I was a child, there used to be enough sweet coconut water about Barbados. And I feel that we need, you know how we have to fight against overfishing? We need a policy for how to be able to grow the coconuts and let them get to the level where people are buying what they really want to buy. Okay?
Yeah.
I can't, I have to impose the timeline on you, Skipper.
No problem,
And I know
Prime
that some
Minister.
of your other things you can exercise in different fora.
Yes, thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, my brother. Who's next?
Good night. My name is Tony Sudat. I live on Belmont Road. Sudat, S-O-U-D-A-T-T. S-O-U-D-A-T-T. On July 29th, 2021, about 3.5 years ago, in the midst of COVID, about 9 o'clock at night, a truck hired by the Ministry of Agriculture to transport offal was coming down Belmont Road and claimed that the truck driver said that his brakes had failed and intentionally crashed into the guard wall of my mom's property. Police came, reports were done. He said he had insurance. It
No
turns
problem. This is a personal matter, clearly. Come,
Well,
and I'll give
it's
you the
beyond personal.
No, no, no. In other words, it is personal to your family. AG, acting AG, speak to him, and if there's a claim, he'll follow up with you on it, and also with Mr. Morris, so we make sure you have all the answers that you need. Okay? That's fair? Okay. Who's next?
Hi, good night. All right, good night. My name is Roshana Trim. First Avenue, Backhouse Hill, St. Michael. And there are just two things that I want to touch on. We speak a lot recently about crime amongst young people, and I think one of the biggest challenges that we have right now is with volunteer organizations in terms of being able in many instances to support. We've talked about a whole country approach, and one of the challenges that they have would be being able to access schools and engage schools. So you send emails, you send letters that detail what you do, the kind of work that you do, links to everything, and then you don't get a response. And if you follow up, it's almost as though it's not important or it's been discarded, but a lot of these things are things that we are asking for in schools. And so if we're asking organizations and youth organizations, I'll speak on in particular, to engage in assisting with our crime prevention intervention efforts, building young people who are able to engage, then the access to schools becomes important because you have a captive audience, and it's a lot more difficult when you train communities.
We dealt with this the first thing tonight.
I am sorry.
It was the very, very first thing. Kathy is there right next to you. She will tell you that we also spoke about giving people access to schools, and I went through the amount of hours in a week, a year, that schools are available. So next topic.
No problem. There was a philanthropy portal that was suggested or that was being worked on during regathering. And I thought it was a really good idea to allow Barbadians who had resources and who were interested in donating to be able to contribute, knowing fully what the needs were of the country and where they could make that contribution. And I wanted to know if that was being revisited for regathering once again next year, because I do think it's very important.
I had hoped so, and in fact, I had hoped that it would have been completed beforehand, but Minister Jordan is not here, and I'm sure he is hearing and that he will be told that we're looking forward to it, because the biggest problem is you have so many people overseas wanting to give, and more often than not they end up giving to the same people for the same things, when in truth and in fact, if we have an organized approach to philanthropy, we will ensure that the areas that really need get. Okay?
Yes, please. And one last thing. In terms of public education, some of the things that we talk about, I think that maybe we need some more national campaigns on some of the issues that we really have a big challenge with. For example, I remember growing up, we had huge HIV/AIDS campaigns, a lot of littering campaigns, and campaigns that children were able to kind of teach their parents about things that we may have thought that adults would already know and have accepted. And so I believe that we need to bring back the idea of public education through ads and television.
Absolutely, and
Thank
in
you.
fact, I think Marsha's going to have one soon, starting with how people can protect themselves with respect to the engagement on digital platforms. Because in the same way people had to learn to negotiate roads when we moved to having cars and trucks for the first time, we need to be able to teach every Bajan, not the ones who can, like you, who can know instinctively, but every Bajan household needs to know how to protect themselves against the threats in this new cyber crazy world. Okay?
Thank you.
Anyone else? So that's it. Thank you. You sure you were down, sir? I know Mr. Prescott is out of the room. I didn't know you want to speak in his absence.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Name and address.
Today, Madam Prime Minister. When I give my name, don't say it is personal. Charles Lovers Drive, Welches, St. Michael. Ring a bell? Two things quickly though. Let me start with the other one first. I live in Lovers Drive. It's a cul-de-sac. I would really love that gap to get fixed, because I'm under pressure from my constituents about it.
How many houses you have down the gap?
Pardon?
How many houses you have down the gap?
Enough,
I just want for the
enough
record.
to vote to fill half of the
Hold on,
box.
I understand that. But by the same token, how many houses in fairness and truth?
9 or 11. 9, I think 9. 9. I think 9. Right, but and in that same gap at the bottom, there is an open, I don't know what you call it, open something for can there. It was there for a while now. I would like it addressed, because when the elderly pass in front of that gap, something may happen. So I would like that can remove and that opening fixed.
You reported it to the depot?
No, I report to Mr. Bradshaw.
Okay, but I'd like you know, and I'm using you, Mr. Lovell, to speak to people. Because either people need to also formally report to the ministry, as the Deputy Prime Minister has said, or in some instances engage with their local depot, because the depots themselves too will start to prioritize work based on what they know, and they will say, look, this is far more urgent than this, and therefore they know what will be a public threat, a threat to public safety,
Yeah, that one
and
is.
one that we would like it closed, but it really is not as serious as these 3 or 4. And I want a culture to develop in the country where people can engage with their depots, and that those things then can be assimilated into a central point along with what is in the ministry. Because with the best will in the world, even, you have children?
2.
Okay.
Grandchild.
Everything that a child may want, they may not necessarily be able to get.
I
So
thought-
that a parent has to prioritize what they give the child based on the first needs, and then they prioritize on the basis of want. And I'm saying to you that I am not going to sit here and fool people. When you didn't do roads for the majority of 10 years, and then on top of that we had COVID, which effectively collapsed the roadworks program for the better part of 2 years with the fervor that we would have liked, you will always have a backlog. But there's only so much you can do at one time.
Okay, thank you.
So I want to moderate expectations, but deliver as best we can.
Thank
Okay?
you, but I come to my main one though. My main one.
Prob, I didn't know you were into doing.
Of course, because I'm under pressure to repeat this. 2 years ago, Madam Prime Minister, I came not only with a proposal but a suggestion to fix the situation of the suggestion at the Bridge Road stoplights. When I brought the proposal to you, it went viral, and all over VOB, all over places, people supported me, including you, who said you would take the opportunity to fix the roundabout at Combermere, and you did that, but you left me the same way.
Because I know, last time I checked, a roundabout at Bridge Road.
That's not the proposal, ma'am.
Was it?
To fix the stoplight situation, and I gave a proposal.
Well, I can't remember the
Well, I can tell you
proposal
now again.
I suspect that you may have given it on air.
No, right here, this
Okay,
forum.
but that's
Let me go again. Let me go again, though. To
let's
expedite,
go.
let me go again. Bridge Road is a congestion on the Bridge Road section of the stoplight. Because the vehicle at the top turning right, if it don't make that turn, it means no cars leave the Bridge Road.
Okay, but Mr. Level, when I qualified as a lawyer. I did not qualify as a traffic expert, nor did Santia for that matter. Those traffic issues will go to the traffic engineers, and I actually happen to know that Santia has engaged, the ministry has engaged somebody who is reviewing traffic island-wide. Why? Because in my view, if we don't get on top of the traffic situation in this country, it is going to be a major cause of lack of productivity. So that the ministry is trying to get ahead of the curve, and ultimately, we are hoping to be able to have as many buses so that Barbadians can reach a point where if we say a bus is coming at 3:37, you can step out and it is there at 3:37. And I say so with all due respect, because what I'm not going to do, and that's why I find it strange that I would have said yes, yes, yes. All I can tell you is that yes, it can go to the engineer. So the traffic engineer really is who will have to.
But the
sign
same
off.
thing
And we
operates.
had the same problems at Highway 2A with the traffic lights on Highway 2A. So these traffic matters are not.
No, I don't.
as
This
simple
one
as they
different,
seem.
ma'am. This suggestion is also taking place at Dickens Road, where
Problem, and all I'm saying is that the persons who advise government on that, government is not going to wake up and say, we want a traffic X there or Y there. We take the advice from the traffic engineers for a reason. So, and they do a traffic count. So, and Santia, please.
the mess is aware of it, though. She's aware.
Yeah, he's mentioned the issue before. I think the main thing is that, as PM says, you have to collect the data in order to inform decision making. And that's why we've engaged a traffic consultant to be able to assist the ministry, because we didn't have the support in-house to be able to do that. So while your recommendations are on point, the reality is that we still need to do take it through the channels in order to make sure that we make the correct decision. All right?
Okay. Thank you. Wish you all a good night.
Okay, so you see that she's not sleeping on the job. Thank you. Okay, I think that's it. And we are on target, but for 1 minute, 10:01. Let me thank everyone who has come out. As I said, this was an exceedingly good meeting in my view. And Kathy, I want to thank you for setting the tone from the beginning, and everyone who spoke. For those who have individual personal problems, we are going to follow through with them. That is what Mr. Morris and others do. And if we can't solve them, we equally tell you we can't solve them. But for the most part, I think you will find that almost in every instance, there is genuine effort going in to solve a lot of these problems. I want to thank the MPs for St. Michael for being present, and to continue to say that we look forward to next year. Obviously, there is no Parish Speaks in December, but next year, while we do the Ideas Forum, as I said, I want to see now the sectoral consultations 1 a quarter, because the Parish Speaks will be an Ideas Forum, and the sectoral consultations will then focus on the various sectors. So governance, infrastructure, social and environmental, and productive sectors. And we would expect also not just the particular ministers, but those who sit on the parliamentary select committees should also be present for those sectoral consultations, of which there will be 4 across the year. I want to thank the Department of Citizen Engagement and Media Relations for handling these Parish Speaks in as efficient a manner as they have handled it, ensuring equally that we get in and out and that we follow up where possible. I want to thank the Ministry of Public Works for the videos, because more often than not, a lot of the issues are infrastructural, and therefore the ability to produce videos to show what we have done. This is not an exam. We will never score 100% because we're not divine. We don't have everything that we need. But I think I can say that ministries and departments and agencies are doing a reasonably good job in follow through. And where there is not an ability to follow through, there is usually a genuine reason, either because it is not as high on the priority list as others island-wide, or alternatively, something may have happened to divert the resources, which has happened because Hurricane Beryl, when we started this year, I did not have any fishing harbor to repair. We now have to repair urgently the fishing harbor in town, and that is going to cost us just on or about $32 million. And then we still have to look to build a new one, because they've told us that the repairs at that fishing harbor will not withstand major events. But we can't build a new one without doing serious maritime studies, which may take us therefore 2 to 3 years to complete a new harbor. So you have to fix the existing one and still build a new one. And in January this year, when we signed off on the estimates, we had none of this to deal with as we now have in November. So I'm saying to you that sometimes things happen that cause us to have to tweak during the year, just as it happens in your own life. You plan out to do X, Y, Z, and all of a sudden you sprain your ankle, or you get some bad feels and you got to buy medication that you didn't have to buy before, or you got to go and do something for your child for SBA that you didn't know that you would have to do, and it offset your budget. Same thing with the government. So bear with us. We'll work with you. But let me thank you. I am so proud, and I end on this point. Up to last week at the Vatican with the Pontifical Academy, Professor Mazzucato was able to speak, and if it's online you may see it, about her attendance at St. Lucy Speaks and how impressed she was that this country is engaging its citizens on a monthly basis on matters pertaining to all kinds of things. I don't think that we recognize how our participation here once a month, with the exception of December, is about strengthening and deepening our democracy and giving voices. Mr. Adams, your suggestions, for example, Kathy, your suggestions, Reverend Bowen, there are a whole host of things that came out tonight that will find themselves in some manner, form, or fashion into the government policy framework. And that has nothing to do with the other things that many of you have brought, which will allow us to be able to deal with the problems between Hinesville Gap and Prescott Bottom. Or Mr. Grant, you will now write the National Honors Committee for the renaming of that center, and we can go on and on. But it is the richness of the conversation, and it is the ability to be able to, as we did with Keisha and Cheryl, to update people with what is happening with various projects, because we know how many hundreds of people are affected in Bellevue and how many hundreds or thousands between Bell and Licorice Village. And then, of course, we're not in St. George, but also Bailey's Alley. And in every instance, these are communities that live close to water reservoirs or pumping stations. And how it has gone unnoticed, or unresolved, I should say, for decades is an amazing factor to me. But we shall ensure that it does not go into the next decade at all, at all, at all. So thank you. I always feel weird about wishing people Merry Christmas before November 30th. But you will forgive me. I will first do Happy Independence. I will secondly do Merry Christmas. And I will thirdly do Happy 2025. And may the gathering of the families of Barbados, parish by parish, allow us to find renewed purpose and solidarity with each other in that special year of 2025. Thank you very much.